Chapter 61 Foregone Conclusion. Chen Shang was in the beginner stage of the immortal and devil body. He also had the heaven-defying yin and yang divine vein, and an immensely powerful divine exercise. Due to all these factors, at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, he had the strength to defeat a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert. Even Chen Shang didn't expect that the universal true qi, created from fusing the 5 elements of true qi, would be so frightening. He was also shocked speechless by the power released when using the divine exercise of the 4 symbols. What are you going to do? I'm a true martial sect's disciple, if you... When Chen Furong saw the slaughter qi soaring from Chen Shang, Chen Furong finally realized that death was in front of him. Despite Chen Shang destroying both an arm and a leg, Chen Furong could still not accept the fact that Chen Shang was stronger than him. Impossible, impossible, I am in the 9th level of the moral martial realm. Only a 10th level of mortal martial realm expert can beat me. You're only 16 years old, you can't possibly be in the 10th level of mortal martial realm. Chen Furong panicked while speaking, at the same time struggling to crawl away on the ground. Chen Shang coldly said, if I was in 10th level of mortal martial realm, you would have just become meat putty on the sidewalk. Go to hell. After he finished speaking, Chen Shang roared as true qi burst out of his mouth accompanied by azure lightning. It was madly flashing within the storm and accompanied by a strong wind aura. It was as if the powerful true qi was a waterfall falling from the 9th heaven as it struck Chen Furong's body. Thunderclap sounds rang throughout the whole field, but not alone, as it was also accompanied by Chen Furong's equally loud and blood-curdling screams. Chen Zhang's complexion was extremely cold and hard. Ever since he saw his father wounded, he swore that he would kill Chen Furong. You are a 9th level of mortal martial realm martial artist, but in my eyes, you are nothing but an ant. Enjoy a few things before dying. Chen Shang ruthlessly roared. Again, he casted the Azure Dragon Roar, followed by the Azure Dragon Claw, Storm Killing Fist, Heavenly Tiger Storm Killing Fist, and the Fire King Fist. He casted these several martial techniques he had grasped and was proficient in, one after the other, striking Chen Furong ruthlessly. Watching the scene that was occurring in front of them, a shiver ran down everybody's spine outside the field. They all had a frightened face. They had an extremely hard time believing that a not yet 17-year-old teenager had such a vibrant true qi, and also defeated a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert. No, not defeated, madly battered and completely dominated. Chen Furong was now resembling a mud ball. His whole body, from head to toe, was struck and broken by Chen Zhang's top-grade martial techniques. Chen Furong soon died in agony as Chen Shang removed the storage pouch from Chen Furong's waist and then incinerated the corpse into ashes. Afterwards, Chen Shang stepped past the Yao family's broken main door. Dead, he just died like this. This child is simply a monster. An old martial artist said. If he had not seen Chen Zhang's strength a moment ago with his very own eyes, he would simply be unable to believe that Chen Furong, a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert, had been brutally bashed into the ground and killed by a teenage martial artist. Of course, just a moment ago, the strength shown by Chen Shang was almost unbelievable. Everyone looking at the now tranquil but messy field could hear the sound of fighting that was occurring past the Yao family gate. It was similar to a daydream for them. This was the might of a powerful martial artist. With just a single battle, an entire field which could accommodate tens of thousands of people had become completely messed up. Extremely strong martial artists could definitely possess such an overwhelming force. This was definitely no legend. Chen Shang arrived inside the Yao family estate. He saw many scattered body parts on the ground. He yelled out, "Dad, I've come to lend you a hand." Chen Shang had actually arrived. Even those on his side like Chen Tianyu and Chen Haohai could not help but shudder. The fact that Chen Shang arrived here meant that Chen Furong was no longer a threat. This was only possible if Chen Furong had been defeated by Chen Shang. All of the Yao family members knew that Chen Shang and Chen Furong were fighting, but now Chen Shang had won. In other words, Chen Zhang's strength was comparable, no, even above a 9th level of mortal martial realm expert. Now the Yao family's doom was foregone conclusion and simply inevitable. This is not possible. You cannot defeat someone from 9th level of mortal martial realm. Only someone who is in the 10th level of mortal martial realm could do it so fast. Yao Hong shouted. He was the Yao family patriarch. The current predicament of the Yao family was all because of him. It was his decision to eradicate the Chen family. Chen Shang jumped several dozen zhang high into the air. An azure light emitted from his palm as he slammed it downwards. Endless true qi surged out from his palm along with the azure light. A huge azure palm that was immense as a mountain appeared in the sky. Moreover, it was pressing down below onto the Yao family. That palm was made purely from the chi aura, it was dozens of jong wide and covered the entire garden, yet still with such a strong true chi gushing out from it. With just a glance, everyone there could tell how vigorous Chen Zhang's true chi was. That giant azure palm in the sky fell, as a large number of houses and hundreds of Yao family also fell under its immense pressure. Not only did all the houses under the palm get smashed into pieces, it also resulted in the bones of everyone under it to be cracked, blood gushing out from their mouths. The strength was so horrifying that everyone's flesh and blood simply flew off, pressed on the ground, turning it into human meat paste. A huge palm imprint was left in the ground. Everyone watching was deeply shocked by this, and many could not help but retch. Some even threw their weapons onto the ground, others emitted terrified shrieks, while many even fled the Yao family courtyard. All of the people running were Yao family members. Chen Tianyu's mouth twitched, he had not expected that in just few months his son would have such frightening power. With just a move, Chen Shang could kill hundreds of people. Just a moment ago, Chen Shang had released all of his Azure Dragon True Chi. Releasing such a soul-shaking strike, everyone watched as his complexion turned pale and he started falling from the sky. They all guessed that he must have overconsumed his True Chi. Kill all of them. The Chen family members have consumed too much of their True Chi. We cannot miss this opportunity. Yao Hong roared, wielding a longsword as he flew up. Just a moment ago, around 300 Chen family members were fighting against thousands of Yao family members, it really was very consuming. Chen Tianyu and the others in the 8th level mortal martial realm were up against many 6th or 7th level of mortal martial realm experts. Moreover, in order to prevent the casualties of their Chen family members, they had to help the injured retreat, increasing their burdens. The fact that they were all alive and standing was nothing short of a miracle. Chen family members, all of you, get behind me. Chen Shang loudly shouted. All the Chen family elites in the courtyard soon flew behind him. Just from the spectacle before, they were all filled with admiration for Chen Shang. Dad, just leave these old men to me, you deal with those other minions, said Chen Shang as he rushed towards Yao Hong and the other high-level Yao family members. Chen Shang and the others were originally worried, but when they saw the vigorous and vibrant True Chi suddenly surge out from Chen Zhang's body, they all felt relieved. Yet in their hearts, they were still shocked. It wasn't clear to them how much True Chi Chen Zhang's body actually possessed. White Tiger Divine Fist. Chen Shang flew above the opposing party and suddenly punched out a thunderous fist. A large amount of golden True Chi surged out from his fist, in blink of an eye, cementing into a giant golden fist, tens of jong wide, which was exuding an extremely large amount of slaughter chi. Just a moment ago, a huge azure palm appeared, and now a huge golden fist. It was also transformed from a frightening chi aura, but was of a more destructive metal attribute True Chi. This White Tiger True Chi also contained an engulfing slaughter chi. The huge golden fist flew, as the chi waves bursting out like a typhoon sweeping away the clouds. A large and thick slice of the earth had been lifted up and was currently flying towards that crowd of Yao family experts. As the golden fist passed over the ground, it started shaking from the violent True Chi undulations, as the earth eventually cracked into numerous deep fissures. This power was absolutely comparable to a falling mountain. Yao Hong, who was watching this thunderous and powerful fist advancing towards them, could not help but be utterly shocked. At this time, every member of the opposing party facing this terrifying blow wanted to run away. But as they moved to do so, they found that the chi waves had intertwined with their bodies and they were unable to escape. Chapter 62, True Elemental Dan. Chapter 62 True Elemental Dan. The White Tiger Divine Fist shoveled out a deep canyon in the ground, therein covering all of the Yao family's experts. Tyrannical chi aura ravaged their body and the instant the Divine Fist struck them, they could clearly feel the muscle and bones in their body exploding. Furthermore, this blow completely dispersed the True Chi in their body. All of you, stop. Your Yao family patriarch and elders have been defeated. Chen Zhang's thunderous voice resounded through the entire Yao family courtyard. Every Yao family member, whether they were high or low, clearly heard his declaration. The people outside the courtyard in the field were also surprised. Chen Shang had only entered a moment ago, but had already defeated the Yao family. Rumor had it, that a single powerful martial artist could easily destroy an entire city. Now Chen Shang had easily defeated all of a family's elite martial artists, including 3 8th level of the mortal martial realm experts. Moreover, they were all defeated by a single blow from Chen Shang. This proves that the rumors were definitely not false. Yao Hong's and all the Yao family elders' bones were completely crushed. Despite this, they were still not dead, merely in excruciating and gruesome pain. They were all glaring at Chen Shang with eyes full of hatred. The Yao family patriarch and elders had all been defeated. Other Yao family members did not dare to resist, their elites had long been defeated. If they tried to resume the battle, it would completely futile and meaningless. Chen Shang, you just wait for our Yao family seniors to seek revenge. Yao Hong knew he was definitely going to die today, but also knew that the Yao family seniors would not sit idly by. Chen Shang laughed, that's good, it would better if they come. I'll send them off so you can have a good long talk with them. While speaking, Chen Shang created a short knife purely from Chi aura. Soon, the small dagger was sent flying straight into Yao Gong's head. That Chi aura dagger pierced Yao Hong's head, which immediately exploded right after. Yao Hong's head was completely blasted into smithereens. Watching this gruesome spectacle, everyone felt nauseous as fear seeped into their hearts. They worried what they could possibly do to resist if Chen Shang were to act the same way against them. Once the other members of the Yao family saw such gruesome methods of execution, they all became obedient and surrendered themselves while begging for mercy. At this moment, the Dan aristocratic family, which had stood proudly for eons, had, in such a short period of time, been completely decimated. Moreover, this disaster was something they brought upon themselves. Yet, the part which is the most unbelievable and overshadowed all of this, was not the fact they lost, but the fact that the one responsible for such heavy destruction and damage to the Yao family was from a single person who was not yet even 17 years old. Chen Tianyu and the rest never expected such a final outcome. Shang-er, you lead the injured to leave first. You are also no doubt tired, leave the aftermath to us. Chen Tianyu shouted loudly. His eyes were majestic as he glanced at the Yao family members, all of them could not help but tremble in response. Chen Shang nodded his head, and left with hundreds of injured Chen family members, returning to Dan King Hall. He received the dans he needed to heal himself. He had completely consumed all his Azure Dragon and White Tiger True Chi today. It could be said he had consumed a little less than half of his True Chi, and the other 3 True Chis he had were also nearly empty due to his usage of the Universal Force. It is the first time he has expended his True Chi to such a degree. Inside Dan King Hall, Chen Luzhong and Dan King Mengbo had just learned the outcome of the battle. The result had stunned the 2 old men as they repeatedly shook their heads again and again. Even they could not believe that Chen Shang had such a terrifying strength, not to mention his strong talent in alchemy. This guy, it would be good if he entered a martial arts sect as soon as possible. This place would definitely be unable to withstand his meteoric rise. Chen Luzhong sighed. It was very difficult to find any suitable rivals for Chen Shang here, but if he were to enter one of those martial arts sects, he would be near the bottom of the pack. This was also why, once a martial artist reached a certain level of strength, they were unwilling to stay in the regular world. Even if they were very powerful there, if they did not move on, their strength would come to a standstill. As long as a martial artist arrived at that step, all of them would want to go further. The Yao family was fully annexed by the Chen family. Every property across the entire southern martial empire that formerly belonged to the Yao family was now owned by the Chen family. Without a doubt, this made them one of the most formidable forces. Also, the Chen family was now the undisputed #1 Dan family in the southern martial empire. Several days passed as this event spread over the entire southern martial empire. Other families knew that war between the Chen and Yao families was inevitable, but had never expected it to end so soon. Moreover, Chen Zhang's name also became widespread as it was heard again and again due to his astonishing performance in this major conflict. Inside the imperial palace, a handsome man with an extremely pale complexion said to a middle-aged man with a majestic air, "Father Emperor, are we really going to forget that Chen Shang stole our dragon martial technique? And the fact that he seriously injured me?" Song Wu loudly scolded, "What should we do then? Lead troops to try and destroy the Chen family. They have 6th 8th level mortal martial realm experts, as well as Chen Shang whose strength is comparable to that of the 10th level of the mortal martial realm. Chen Shang did not actually kill you, that's already quite benevolent. You think you are clever, but those things are only petty tricks." Song Wu was the emperor, but facing the Chen family, even he must concede his prestige. Furthermore, he and the Chen family held no grudges between them. That day at the tournament when he decided to not stay there with the seriously injured Song Nanming was truly a wise decision. Had he stayed with the Yao family that day, perhaps both he and Song Nanming would have been massacred along with the Yao family. I cannot reconcile with him. Song Nanming grinded his teeth and spat out. During this period of time, he had been beaten until his body was decimated. If not for the aid of the good healing dans, he simply would not have the slightest chance of recovering. Humph, so what if you cannot reconcile? The Yao family is now history while the Chen family will not do anything to threaten us. They do not care about being the emperor, after all they want to manage the aftermath of their war. You are going to obedient for this period of time, Song Wu coldly said as he left. The Yao family courtyard had become the new Chen family residence. The destroyed entrance and front area from the battle would soon be repaired as all of the Chen family members migrated from Wohu City to reside in King City. The forces who previously had very good relationships with the Yao family had quickly abandoned them and showed goodwill towards the Chen family. These days, many people brought gifts to Dan King Hall, all of them being very high in quality. From these gifts, Chen Shang only picked a few herbs and left the rest for the Chen family. After killing Chen Farong, Chen Shang found the true elemental Dan in his victim's storage pouch. This was a high-grade spirit-level Dan, extremely rare. Even for Meng Bo, the Dan King of the Southern Martial Empire, it would be extremely difficult to refine this Dan successfully. It has a vast amount of pure true qi. After eating it, the true qi within it can instantly be refined. Indeed a great Dan, I wonder when I will be able to personally refine it. Chen Shang looked at the Dan, which had an appearance similar to a transparent shell. At the center, a ball of pure white qi was present. Su Meiyao was appreciatively holding Chen Zhang's Flame Dragon's brilliant furnace. Bai Yuyu was also looking on from the side. After the Flame Dragon's brilliant furnace recognized Chen Shang as its master, Bai Yuyu was no longer afraid of its scorching qi. Su Meiyao said, those martial arts sect's alchemists can be considered to quite good if they can refine a high-grade spirit-level Dan. That's quite hard, although it did not mean much. After all, only those alchemists who can refine profound-grade Dans are considered to be of great importance. Currently, Chen Shang was only able to refine middle-grade mortal-level Dans and intended to learn how to refine high-grade mortal-level Dans, or possibly even low-grade spirit-level Dans. Only after achieving this objective, would he head towards those big martial sects. Two sisters, is it possible for the Yao family seniors who are in those martial arts sects to come back and retaliate against the Chen family? Chen Shang asked. He was worried that after he left, the Yao family seniors would come for revenge. You do not need to worry about the martial arts sects learning about what happened here. This time, Chen Farong and Zhang Long broke the rules first and acted against the regular world's people. Even if they were killed, no investigation will be launched. Not to mention, the fact is, they were simply nothing in the eyes of the true martial sect. There is no way they would break the rules simply for their deaths. If they did, the true martial sect would be targeted by all the other sects, explained Su Meiyao. Chapter 63, Alchemy Sufferings. Chapter 63 Alchemy Sufferings. There were many martial arts sects and they diametrically oppose each other. All of them could not wait for someone to be a little bit in the wrong and grab their weakness. Chen Shang was somewhat surprised. Like Zhang Long, this young 8th level of the mortal martial realm practitioner was still not of any importance. It was highly likely that there were many powerful martial artists inside those sects. Only martial artists with extraordinary potential and a very promising future could be considered to be of great importance. After things calmed down, Chen Shang started learning alchemy and growing spirit herbs. He didn't use the true elemental Dan because Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu advised him that it would be most effective to consume it when he encountered a bottleneck. After the Chen family took over the Yao family's Dan businesses, their overall price dropped down. This made many martial practitioners extremely excited as they eagerly supported the Chen family. Due to this, the Chen family was very popular among the masses and their action would be a great aid in their future development as a powerhouse. In this world, the law of the jungle is rampant. In just one day, all of the wealth accumulated over eons by the Yao family now belonged to the Chen family. They had brought this upon themselves. If they had not opposed the Chen family they would still be prospering. After the annexation of the Yao family, Chen Shang simply did not have a shortage of spirit herbs he could use for alchemy. He was currently picking some spirit herbs from the former Yao family herbal garden, preparing to refine a high-grade mortal level Dan. Not only did the difficulty in refining a high-grade mortal level Dan increase several times over, it also required much more precious spirit herbs. There were not many types of high-grade mortal level Dans, and even fewer types were widespread and frequently used. These were the most useful for martial practitioners but also seldomly refined. These were also the types of Dans alchemists need to master, so obviously when Chen Shang chose to learn how to refine high-grade mortal level Dans, he chose one of these to refine. High-grade mortal level Dans ranking on the tier list of Dans is somewhat awkward. How should I put this? Undoubtedly in the martial arts world, there are many martial practitioners above 10th level of the mortal martial realm and they are all quite rich. These people have high requirements, so when they buy pills they would obviously not choose mortal level pills but rather buy low-grade spirit level dans instead. Moreover, it would be bought in vast quantities and after they eat it, it would give them greater benefits. Said Su Meiyao. Chen Shang asked, so in other words, those in martial arts sects at the 8th and 9th level of the mortal martial realm are relatively poor? Su Meiyao answered, of course. So they can only buy mortal level dans with their wealth, but you have to know that even the effects of high-grade mortal level dans on the 8th and 9th level mortal martial realm martial practitioners do not have any obvious benefits. So you need to master just the most expensive high-grade mortal level dans, which are the cultivating Qi Dan, the grand elemental Dan and the transforming essence Dan, said Su Meiyao. Chen Shang already knew some of these dans and they were indeed among the most expensive mortal level high-grade dans. After taking them, their effects were also very evident and helpful. Cultivating Qi Dan mainly elevated someone's true Qi quality so that martial practitioners could refine their true Qi into a purer form. Grand Elemental Dan was a cultivation-boosting Dan. After consuming it, a large amount of spirit Qi was released, which could be directly refined into a large amount of true Qi without taking into account thin spirit Qi or spiritual veins. Last was the Transforming Essence Dan. This Dan would directly transform internal true Qi into spiritual power and was mainly used to enlarge the area of divine sense and practice its usage. Chen Shang had the Flame Dragon's Brilliant Furnace. With this sacred-level dragonic object, one could accelerate the time inside the alchemy furnace and thereby save a lot of time in the refining process of alchemy. It should be known that some dans take years or even decades for refinement. With the help of the Flame Dragon's Brilliant Furnace, Chen Shang could drastically shorten the time required. Chen Shang was going to attempt to refine the Grand Elemental Dan first, because he wanted to take the Dan himself and elevate his own power. Only after entering the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, would he enter one of the big sects. There were 3 main ingredients required for refining the Grand Elemental Dan. Although not much, they were all required to be more than 500 years old, in addition to 20 other auxiliary materials, the oldest of these being 100 years old and the youngest being 50 or 60 years old. From this alone, the preciousness of a Grand Elemental Dan could be seen. If they failed to refine it, many alchemists would simply cry in despair. This stone-like fruit is really tricky. Chen Shang had started refining. Originally, these herbs belonged to the Yao family and there were only 4 sets, each of them being worth more than 100,000 large spirit coins. Although the Flame Dragon's Brilliant Furnace was more suitable for alchemy and the control of temperature was arbitrary, if one did not know about the degree of heating required by each herb, then even divine furnaces were useless. At this time, Chen Shang separated his divine sense into 20 or so separate parts and controlled the flame incinerating the 20 different spirit herbs. Moreover, these spirit herbs had to transform into herbal powder at the exact same time, so there needed to not be even the tiniest bit of time difference between them. Meanwhile, Chen Shang also needed to use all of his brain to refine the various spirit herbs into herbal spirit Qi. The consumption of divine sense would ordinarily have been too much, even for Chen Shang. But the Flame Dragon's Brilliant Furnace allowed him to decrease his consumption of divine sense so he did not need to resort to using dans in order to restore his divine sense. Chen Zhang's divine sense perceived a full day passing inside the alchemy furnace, but in actuality, only a small moment had passed. This is because the Flame Dragon's Brilliant Furnace sped up the passage of time inside it, so there was a large time difference between the two. Fucking shit, I'm finished. Chen Shang was sweating profusely as he watched a clump of colorful mist rising from the Flame Dragon's Brilliant Furnace. He could not help but curse. This was already more than 100,000 large spirit coins which had just suddenly transformed into a puff of colorful smoke. The fact that Chen Shang didn't cry was already considered resolute. Worthy of the title, Flame Dragon's Brilliant Furnace, to not even explode after that. Su Meiyao giggled and smiled tenderly. Sister Meiyao, do not irritate me. Chen Shang muttered. Just a moment ago, he had incinerated the spirit herb called Iron Element Fruit and failed. This was because that Iron Element Fruit wasn't as hard as he had thought. When he had been baking it, nothing was going wrong, so he suddenly increased the heat of the flames. Who could have thought that the Iron Element Fruit would explode in the blink of an eye? The escaping spirit Qi from the explosion caused all of the other herbal powders and herbal spirit Qi to blend into a chaotic mess. This resulted in a variety of reaction with the end result of an explosion, all of which surged out from the Flame Dragon's Brilliant Furnace. I told you that this fruit is very hard to refine. Even I failed a good number of times when I used this gray fruit. Now when I see someone failing in front of me like I once did, of course I'm going to be delighted. Su Meiyao stuck out her rosy fragrant tongue and continued to laugh. Every time Chen Shang refined dance, Su Meiyao would come out. Sometimes, she would wipe Chen Zhang's sweat, or perhaps gloat. Other times she would encourage him. Occasionally she would also take liberties or tempt Chen Shang, this innocent teenager. Chen Shang curled his lips and said, "You can afford the failures, but there is no way for me. There are only 3 sets of ingredients left," he exclaimed after learning that when Su Meiyao was trying to master alchemy, even with her extensive resources, had actually failed several times. "Good brother, you shouldn't be so discouraged. I just remembered the past and missed it very much." Su Meiyao took out a silky handkerchief and sweetly smiled. She then walked towards Chen Shang and wiped the sweat off his face. Chen Shang inhaled that refreshing body fragrance that Su Meiyao emitted. Feeling her tender beautiful hands occasionally stroking his cheeks made him feel an inexpressible sensation. After a quick break, Chen Shang continued to refine. The second time he had failed again, at the exact same stage when he was dealing with the iron element fruit. The third time, he managed to successfully resolve the issue with the iron element fruit, but at the last stage of congealing the dan, he could not control the fusion of the various herbal powders and herbal spirit cheese, resulting in another small explosion inside the flame dragon's brilliant furnace. "Father is really prodigal. In just a 2-hour period, I've evaporated more than 400,000 large spirit coins." Chen Shang laid down on the ground, feeling extreme heartache as he watched the scattered mist in the private room. Chapter 64, Poison Needle. Chapter 64, Poisonous Needle. The more Chen Shang delved into the mysteries of alchemy and experimented with the higher-ranked dans, the more he understood why powerful alchemists were so scarce. This was because most people could not afford to consume spirit herbs. Even Chen Shang, who was talented in comparison to others and also had the flame dragon's brilliant furnace as support, still continuously failed when trying to refine this high-grade mortal level. Let alone others. "Sister Meiyao, give me a kiss, then I'll have some courage again. Failing again and again, I've become fearful," Chen Shang timidly said, but after he finished saying those words out loud, he laughed foolishly. Su Meiyao spat, "You little rascal, to even try to play me for a fool. It was good that you chose me to joke with. You would not have dared to say such things to senior sister. Otherwise your face will be swollen for at least several days." Chen Shang mischievously laughed and said, "Of course I know, Sister Meiyao, it's not like you are going to be kissing me for the first time. Kissing again is next to nothing." This had occurred when Chen Shang won the flame dragon's brilliant furnace. Su Meiyao had, in momentary excitement, kissed Chen Shang on the cheek. However, she had not expected Chen Shang to still be thinking about that moment. "Nice try. If you mention this again I am gonna ignore you later." Su Meiyao softly scoffed. Thinking of the day when she kissed Chen Zhang's cheek, her pretty face could not help but feel slightly hot as 2 intoxicating flushes emerged. This made her even more enchanting and charming. Seeing this, Chen Shang was stunned. "Humph, hurry up and refine the dance." Su Meiyao's face gradually turned even more red as she stomped her feet. Her voice was seductive yet full of anger. She turned into a white light, and then disappeared into the ring. Chen Shang was somewhat disappointed, but he knew that in order to get the beauty's heart he first needed to become strong. He rested a moment before seriously trying to refine the dan again. If he fails this time around, he would have to buy more herbs. More than half an hour passed before Chen Zhang's evil laughter resounded in the private room. "Ha ha ha, your father has finally succeeded. In just half a day I learned how to successfully refine a grand elemental dan. Ha ha." After Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu heard that disgusting laugher, they immediately came out from the ring. "Do not ever laugh again in such a nasty way or I'll knock all your teeth out." Bai Yuyu's ice-cold voice resounded. This immediately made the formerly joyous Chen Shang look as if he had just eaten dog shit. He quickly stopped laughing, and shut his mouth. He was worried that Bai Yuyu would actually knock his teeth out. After Su Meiyao saw this, she giggled. As the flame dragon's brilliant furnace opened, 5 dragon eye-sized white dans appeared into view, with quite a bit of spirit chi wafting from them. However, each dazens costed 80,000 spirit coins. This brat, always hurting other people's pride. I thought that he would at least fail a dozen times, but it seems that only after 2 or 3 failures, he succeeded like always. Su Meiyao, who was very happy in her heart, said while pouting. It was a rather seductive scene to behold. Although Chen Shang was proud, he still managed to say with a straight face, "This is all thanks to Sister Meiyao's guidance and Sister Yuyu's." "It's none of my fault." Bai Yuyu interrupted him in the middle. "Of course this has everything to do with Sister Yuyu, because in my heart I'm always thinking how I can help restore both fairy sisters' strength." Chen Shang grinningly said. Although Bai Yuyu knows that Chen Shang was just flattering her, she couldn't help but be slightly touched because Chen Shang said this in consideration of her. In the future, put in a little more effort. When you learn a devil skill from me, I'll start teaching you seriously, said Bai Yu. Right after she finished speaking, she quickly returned to the ring. Brat, quickly swallow and refine the dance so that you can enter the 9th level of the mortal martial realm a bit earlier. Su Meiyao helped him wipe off a bit of sweat before returning to the ring. However, Chen Shang did not eat it immediately, but instead took a short break. Afterwards, he called Su Meiyao out and requested to learn the refinement process for both the transforming essence Dan and the cultivating Qi Dan. Seeing such a passionate Chen Shang, Su Meiyao gave in and patiently guided him. The transforming essence Dan was arguably the hardest to refine among high-grade mortal level Dans. The herbs were also the most expensive, so it was also the most expensive Dan to refine. This was because it can quickly boost divine sense growth. It was important to know that divine sense was incomparably harder to cultivate than true Qi. Also, many powerful exercises need a certain level of divine sense as part of their basic requirements. But even when he was refining the difficult transforming essence Dan, Chen Shang only failed his first attempt before successfully refining it. Additionally, he also produced 6 Dans at once. This made even the two beauties, Bai Yu's and Su Meiyao's, pretty faces turn pale. But they were also very excited as they were sure that in the future, Chen Shang would become an alchemy genius and would definitely reach the apex in alchemy. There were 4 sets of transforming essence Dan materials, because Chen Shang only failed once, he managed to get a total of 18 Dans. In accordance with each Dan, the price was 10,000 spirit coins, which in total was 180,000 spirit coins. Each set of herbs only costed 15,000 spirit coins and he was able to refine 6 Dans with one set. Chen Shang was definitely blessed with fortune, however, he was not going to make that fortune in the regular world, but rather in the cultivator's world. Brat, you're quite relaxed now, huh? We are waiting for you to successfully refine spirit-level Dans, don't complain to high heavens. Su Meiyao said. She was shocked and happy for Chen Zhang's alchemy talent but she didn't want him to be overly proud because of this success. Chen Shang nodded his head in response. In the evening, Chen Shang ate the Dans and went outside the city to cultivate. He was not only cultivating true Qi, but also using various methods to refine his internal and external body. This would not only make his body even more powerful but also allow him to quickly transform true Qi into spiritual power, with which he could then cultivate into divine sense. 1 month passed as Chen Shang became familiar with the refining process of all 3 of the most useful high-grade mortal level Dans. He also tried to refine some of the less famous Dans in order to improve his alchemy techniques. Of course, to not become overly reliant, he also used other alchemical furnaces for refining. With only small failures at the start before managing to be successful in refinement with other furnaces, it just took longer. For example, the Grand Elemental Dan only took half an hour to successfully refine in the Flame Dragon's brilliant furnace took about a day in an ordinary alchemical furnace. In just 1 month, the Chen family's position in King City had also stabilized. Their Dan business expanded, although the Dans they sold were cheap, the quantity sold were extremely vast, so the Chen family earned a lot of revenue. In the morning, Chen Shang returned to the Chen family palace from the outside city. After just coming out from the bath, he saw steward Lao Ma anxiously rushing over. Young master, something major has happened, Lao Ma hastily shouted. What happened? Speak, Chen Shang quickly asked. 10 days ago, the patriarch went out to solve some issues but came back poisoned. Right now, several elders along with Meng Lao are using their true Qi to suppress the toxin. The patriarch's life is in danger. The instant Lao Ma finished his last sentence, Chen Shang turned into a blur and left. Chen Zhang's complexion was dignified as he came into the private room. Several elders and Meng Bo were pressing their hands against Chen Tianyu's upper body while administering their true Qi to suppress the poison in his body. Chen Tianyu's entire strong and muscular body was pitch black. His face seemed devoid of blood and there were faint traces of black Qi showing that he was poisoned. Nearby, Chen Luzhong's eyebrows twitched as he looked at a very small needle. Chapter 65. Judu Gang. Chapter 65 Judu Gang. At this time, several elders and Meng Bo, their complexions were somewhat haggard, all of them were sweating profusely. From their appearance, one could clearly see that they had consumed a lot of their true Qi. Many thanks seniors, for helping my dad in expelling the poison. How is he now? Asked Chen Shang. Although his voice was calm, he was extremely worried in his mind. Chen Tianyu was Chen Zhang's father and his only family. Since his childhood, his father had taken care of him, which made him afraid at the thought of losing his father. Meng Bo said, "Rest assured, the poison has been temporarily suppressed, but it has not been completely expelled. The poison has completely seeped into the bones and meridians, even entered into his 5 zhang and 6 fu. Fortunately, we were able to suppress the poison, or else." Chen Shang closed his eyes and took a deep breath, he then clenched both his fists. In his heart, he was completely furious. An invisible yet heavy slaughter chi suddenly surged out from his body. Chen Tianyu slightly opened his eyes, although his voice was very frail, it was full of anger. "Judu Gang, those bastards. They plotted against our Chen family members multiple times, so I personally went to settle all accounts. In the end, a fight broke out. After I managed to kill 2 managers of Judu Gang and 5 of their elders, their chief plotted against me. I decided to not continue fighting and rushed back." Chen Shang was shocked, even those elders and Meng Bo glanced at Chen Tianyu with an unbelievable look. "Dad, you really rushed alone into Judu Gang?" Chen Shang sucked a cold long deep breath. The Judu Gang was a very vicious organization, specializing in poison. Many martial artists feared this dark organization. 10 years ago, 2 families sent their top experts to deal with them, but not a single one returned. Later, the 2 family patriarchs also went, but they too also didn't return. Humph, what is there to fear? Ever since our Chen family annexed the Yao family, the Judu Gang has been opposing our Chen family. Always snatching our goods, even 10 of our Chen family members were secretly poisoned. If Judu Gang is not eliminated, they'll only kill more of our Chen family members." Chen Tianyu angrily said. "Calm down," Meng Bo appealed. What Chen Tianyu did could actually be considered earth-shattering. Killing 2 managers and 5 elders of Judu Gang was definitely a great loss for them. He had shaken the whole foundation of the gang by himself. Chen Luzhong arrived, and he gave everyone the needle wrapped in a thick cloth he held in his hand for everyone to look at, and said, "This needle was removed from Tianyu's arm, was responsible for poison we just suppressed a moment ago. Anybody pricked by this needle will experience a paralysis, which is rather hard to detect." However, as Chen Tianyu's divine sense is quite powerful, he was able to sense his body condition and didn't continue the battle. Otherwise, the poison diffusion would have intensified. Seeing the needle, Chen Zhang's eyes fiercely opened, his complexion turned more solemn. "I've seen this needle before." Chen Shang clenched his fists. He remembered when he fought against Crown Prince Song Nanming, he had also used a similar needle. Moreover, Leng Yulin was also stabbed by it, but the poison on it was not this strong. Yes, the Crown Prince, during the battle with Leng Yulin, released ice needles and poisoned Leng Yulin. During the match with me, he released similar needles, but it was burned down by my fire. Chen Zhang's eyebrows twitched as he spoke. He was constantly pondering about how the Crown Prince obtained this sort of thing, but now that the Judu Gang was revealed to also have the same thing, everyone could not help but think there was definitely some association between the two. The Emperor, Song Wu, is leisurely and carefree. Joining hands with Judu Gang doesn't have even the tiniest bit of advantage for him, but it is quite possible that the Crown Prince is secretly in contact with Judu Gang. Said Meng Bo, "Not so long ago it was him who drove out the poison from Leng Yulin, so he was also suspicious. I must clearly check." "Dad, where is the Judu Gang's base?" Chen Shang asked, his eyes were filled with a thick killing intent. "Freewind Mountain, be careful." Chen Tianyu was very clear on his sons. Chen Zhang's strength also reassured him, as even the powerful Yao family was defeated by him. "Rest assured, we only need some more time to completely expel Tianyu's poison." Chen Luzhong patted Chen Zhang's shoulder. Chen Shang left the private room, and rode out of the city toward eastern part of King City. Freewind Mountain had always been the gathering place for bandits, and rumor had it that various scattered groups of bandits and robbers had gathered and formed one gang, which was now known as the Judu Gang. After leaving the city, Chen Shang found out that someone was following him. He pretended that he hadn't noticed, and continued on his way. After eliminating the Yao family, it was quite possible that some of their remnants were looking for revenge. However, with his current strength, Chen Shang didn't need to worry about revenge from these sorts of people. Entering the forest, Chen Shang got off the horse, and bolted into the forest. He also intentionally slowed down a bit, so that those following him might be able to catch up. However, what made him think something strange was going on was the fact that the person following him didn't take any actions and seemed to only be responsible for monitoring him. Could it be someone from Freewind Mountain guessed that I'll arrive? Suddenly, this thought sprung up in Chen Zhang's mind. He speculated there might be an ambush ahead. After entering deep into the forest, he suddenly found out that the one who was following him went around him and was now in front. This made Chen Shang even more certain about an ambush ahead. Sure enough, after running for a bit into the forest, he saw a man sitting in front him. Not a single tree was planted nearby, and the spacious ground was littered with fallen leaves. However, there was a luxurious chair was placed, on which sat a handsome fellow. Song Nanming. Chen Shang coldly looked at the crown prince, who was once crippled by Chen Shang. If not for a large number of good spirit herbs, the crown prince wouldn't have been able to recover so fast. Song Nanming appearing here only had one explanation, and that was Song Nanming and Judu Gang did indeed have a close relationship. Just after Chen Tianyu left Judu Gang, they had immediately sent a messaging eagle, so Song Nanming had time to come here. According to Chen Zhang's demeanor, after the poisoned Chen Tianyu fled, Chen Shang would surely come for revenge. Because Song Nanming hated Chen Shang, intercepting him halfway was also normal. Once Chen Shang thought about this, he knew he had been surrounded by many Judu Gang members who were prepared to use many hidden weapons laced with poison, however, he was still calm. As an alchemist, he already had the ability to negate poison. Furthermore, he was in the 8th level of mortal martial realm, so he had strong insight. Lastly, Song Nanming would not use the very same needle to plot against him. Behind Song Nanming stood 4 robust men, their whole bodies exuding pure true qi. From this, one could determine they were the Imperial Palace experts. Song Nanming, I didn't expect you to team up with the Judu Gang. For the dignified Southern Martial Empire Crown Prince to actually have relations with this wicked force, if this is spread out, humph. Chen Shang sneered. Chen Shang, your death is imminent, yet why are you so spirited? You'll die, and then who will know about me and Judu Gang? Ha 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 ha, as long as I deal with you, when I become emperor, I will definitely destroy your Chen family. This is because I want to become the one true emperor, Song Nanming said with a maddening look. The Southern Martial Empire's emperor was an emperor in name only, although he managed the whole country. When the Chen and Yao family matter occurred, he had no right to interfere, nor had he the strength to do so. Therefore his authority was actually very limited. Song Nanming was the crown prince, the next emperor. With his extreme desire for power, he didn't want to suppressed by those martial arts families, so he had formed relations with Judu Gang-like forces. When the time was right, he planned to use these forces to secretly annihilate these families. Attack, we cannot allow him to make it alive out of here. With Song Nanming yelling, a cold wind suddenly blew in the forest. Chapter 66. Exterminating Dragon Divine Martial Skill. Chapter 66 Exterminating Dragon Divine Martial Skill. Song Nanming, who was being escorted by the 4 Imperial Palace experts behind him, vanished in the blink of an eye inside the forest. A chilly wind came, and Chen Shang saw large amounts of black mist suddenly appear around him. He immediately guarded his body with vibrant true qi, transforming it into a qi cover enveloping his body. He held his breath at the same time, because he knew that this was definitely a poisonous mist. The poisonous mist had just arrived, enshrouding the place where Chen Shang stood, covering him completely. Even under the broad daylight, it was pitch black around him. Suddenly, Chen Zhang's eyebrows twitched as he sensed numerous things quickly flying towards him from all 4 directions. Those were countless arrows as well as needles of varying length and thickness. A variety of hidden weapons simultaneously flew over from all 4 directions. The previously dusky forest was now tightly covered and became even darker. This was similar to a rainstorm of poisonous hidden weapons that were currently flying towards Chen Shang. Previously, Chen Shang had perceived many people around him, but he hadn't expected them to simultaneously release this many hidden weapons in such a spectacular way. However, despite this being the case, Chen Shang was still not the least bit afraid. No wonder Song Nanming is so certain of my death. If I was an ordinary 8th level or 9th level mortal martial realm expert, I'm afraid I would surely suffer. Chen Shang said in his heart. As the countless flying needles and arrows stabbed him, a large amount of invisible true qi immediately burst out from his body. This was the universal force created from the fusion of the 5 elements. This deep and terrifying power pervaded through a radius of several zhang. Those flying hidden weapons were now caught by this power, none of them were able to move an inch forward, entirely suspended in the air. Countless flying needles and arrows were stopped by the universal force released by Chen Shang. They were suspended in the air and piled up of top of each other. It was as if a black wall was erected all around Chen Shang. Hey, no more huh. But this could still be counted as enough. Chen Shang laughed. He used Tai Chi divine exercise with both hard and soft characteristics, and released the universal force that held all of the hidden weapons suspended in place within the air. At this time, Chen Shang sensed that all the hidden people around him started to run away into the forest. A ruthless idea came to Chen Shang. Boom! The universal true qi surged out like tsunami from his body. Due to the sudden force, those hidden weapons, which were previously suspended in air, got blasted away along with the poisonous mist and flew out in all four directions. In the blink of an eye, Chen Zhang's location was now restored to the previous luminous forest. However, now there were waves after waves of pitiful screams emitted from the forest as if a devil was demanding for hundreds of lives. Truly reaping what you sowed. Chen Shang shook his head and sighed. He had extremely vibrant and powerful true qi. As long as he could use its power properly, nothing was impossible for him. He simply didn't need to pay any attention to hidden weapons. Two groups of flames appeared on Chen Zhang's back. These intense flames soon transformed into a pair of giant wings. In order to prevent Song Nanming from escaping, Chen Shang had used the vermilion bird fire wings. These fire wings instantly pushed Chen Shang upwards, like an eagle soaring in the sky. Chen Zhang's vision was like an eagle. Even while flying high in the air, he could still clearly see everything on the ground. He soon was able to reach the road outside the forest where he previously left his horse, which was also the path back to the King City. Chen Shang, with his divine sense, flapped and controlled the vermilion bird fire wings and flew extremely quickly. It didn't take long for him to catch up with Song Nanming. Galloping on the horseback and speeding away, Song Nanming looked very excited because he finally was able to remove his greatest enemy. As long as his father, the emperor, passed his throne to Song Nanming, he could carry out his plan. But at this time, he suddenly heard someone calling out his name. Song Nanming, Chen Shang shouted while up in air. Song Nanming thought he heard it wrong, but he once again heard a clear sound coming from high above. He, along with the four Imperial Palace experts, raised their heads and looked up. They immediately saw a pair of fiery red wings appear up in the sky. Those pair of wings were extending from a person's body, and that person was Chen Shang. Watching the wings formed from true qi behind Chen Shang, a shiver suddenly ran down along Song Nanming's entire body, from the top of his head to the sole of his feet. Chen Shang was still alive. Moreover, he was using a priceless true qi wing martial skill. Chen Shang dived down from the sky. A large amount of terrifying azure true qi suddenly appeared on his palm. Soon, a giant palm from true qi was formed. Although Song Nanming and others were running, they were nothing more than rabbits struggling in a falcon's grip. Chen Shang released the giant palm and fiercely struck down, pressing down on Song Nanming and all of the Imperial Palace experts. This was the true qi from someone in the 8th level mortal martial realm, and it also contained azure lightning and aura wind. Under its terrifying power and momentum, Song Nanming and the others were seriously injured in blink of an eye. Man and horse were both pressed against the ground. The horses were instantly killed, while their riders were vomiting blood, struggling on the ground. Chen Shang arrived next to them while holding a long blade. Right in front of Song Nanming, Chen Shang began beheading those Imperial Palace experts one by one. Watching this horrific scene unfold in front of him, Song Nanming trembled from fear and even wet his pants. Chen Shang could kill Song Nanming unscrupulously, and he knew it. Death was right around the corner, and the air was filled with the strong stench of blood. 4 heads were placed in front of Song Nanming, but in spite of the gory sight in front of him, what made him more frightened was that smile on Chen Zhang's face combined with the thick slaughter qi emanating from his body. I didn't even intend to pursue the matter from the previous martial art tournament, but I also did not think you would plot to kill me. This is what you asked for. Chen Shang coldly said. Song Nanming's handsome face was twisted. He was seriously injured and didn't have an ounce of strength to resist, but he still said with difficulty, "Young Master Chen, I." Before he even finished his sentence, Chen Zhang's blade fell, separating Song Nanming's head from his body. The crown prince had just been beheaded by Chen Shang. Presumptuous guy, always making other people waste their energy. Chen Shang said with disdain. He took Song Nanming's storage pouch and looked inside. In addition to tens of thousands of spirit coins, there was also a brand new book. Chen Shang quickly took out the book and opened it. When he saw the words, Long Wu Dragon Martial Technique, he was immediately delighted in his heart. He did not think that Song Nanming would actually carry around the Dragon Martial Technique. Chen Shang quickly put the Dragon Martial Technique inside the invisible ring so that Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu could study it. The ancient Dragon Martial Technique could be considered a type of divine exercise. It was so powerful that even Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu were very interested in it. It's just a part of the complete Dragon Martial Technique. Its main portion is to guide the user in how to transform their true qi transforming into dragon's aura. Afterwards, with this dragon aura the user can cast out martial skills. It was exactly the same as the dragon aura fist that you used before. that so-called dragon aura fist you previously stole from and used against Song Nanming was actually still not quite perfect. Furthermore, it could also be said that Song Nanming had not practiced enough and was not proficient in this skill. Su Meiyao said excitedly. There's such a good martial skill and yet he didn't practice enough. This crown price is simply a waste. Those ice-cold eyes of Bai Yuyu was calmly staring at that book. Although it was handwritten, it was very detailed. Chen Shang was already missing some suitable martial techniques, as there weren't many inside the divine exercise of 4 symbols. Furthermore, the few in there often required extremely vibrant true qi to properly display their effects. Although the Chen family may have a few decent martial techniques, Chen Shang was not satisfied with them. Besides, the majority were not suited for his cultivation. Sister Meiyao, is there any difference between the dragon martial technique and the Azure Dragon divine exercise? Chen Shang asked. They are completely different. The dragon martial technique was personally created by a dragon. Meanwhile, the Azure Dragon divine exercise was created by a human in accordance with a dragon. According to ancient legends, it has been mentioned that the dragon martial technique created by a dragon can fully display a dragon's formidable power, even to the point where it is capable of killing other dragons. As such, it is also known as the Exterminating Dragon divine martial skill. Su Meiyao said. Exterminating Dragon divine martial skill. Just from the name itself, Chen Shang knew it was very formidable. So, the fragments of the dragon martial technique should be scattered throughout the world, but if all of them were to be collected, that would mean that, as Chen Shang thought about this, he suddenly became very excited. However, he knew in his heart this would be very difficult to achieve. Chapter 67, Martial Spirit. Chapter 67, Martial Spirit. Translated by Ash. Edited by Ballistic Bunny, Theno 1 fan. Chen Shang set fire to Song Nanming and the others to incinerate their bodies. But what made him surprised was that although the fire reduced them to ash, 2 Kai-long golden bands of light remained. TLN, 1 Kai equals 1/3 m. What is that? Chen Shang said, with uncertainty, and then consulted Bao Yuyu and Su Meiyao. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu, who were both wearing a black hood, came out of the storage ring. They wore these outfits so no one would be able to see their appearances. It is a martial spirit. In Bai Yuyu's ice-cold voice, a sliver of surprise could be heard. Su Meiyao leaned down and stroked it with her head, saying with certainty, yes, they are martial spirits. What is a martial spirit? Chen Shang had never heard of such a thing. This thing has a unique property, what it is specifically is unclear. Anyway, it is bred out from true qi, produced by heaven and earth. If it is an ice martial spirit and fuses with your arm, even fire-attributed true qi, after passing through the ice martial spirit, will become ice-cold true qi, said Su Meiyao. Chen Shang was surprised. So you're saying if someone who cannot release fire true qi integrates a fire marital spirit into their arm, then they could very well be able to release fire true qi. Bai Yuyu said, yes. So any martial spirit is very valuable and it is also why we cannot tell what attribute this martial spirit has. Chen Shang just heard about this mystical resource for the first time, which shows just how rare it was. But then why would Song Nanming have it? Having a martial spirit might not make much sense to you because you are able to freely release the 5 elements of true qi, but you should keep it to sell later. You should be able to exchange it for a lot of good resources. Su Meiyao got out a small jade bottle and using the Tai Chi divine exercise sucked in the martial spirit. Chen Shang flew up towards Freewind Mountain. Killing Song Nanming not only gave him the Exterminating Dragon divine exercise but also the martial spirits. This harvest can be considered to be very big. Using his divine sense, Chen Shang asked Su Meiyao who was inside the ring, Sister Meiyao, can you talk about these martial spirit things with me? Is it really irrelevant and useless for me? Su Meiyao said, of course not, there are many different types of martial spirits. In addition to the primary elemental martial spirits, there are also beast martial spirits that have been congealed out by demon beasts, which is equally rare. The kind which is most useful to you would be a fire martial spirit. It is able to change the very nature of the flames, allowing them to have a wide variety of properties which is very helpful to alchemists. Fire spirits are very rare. I only know that my teacher has one and has never seen anyone else have it, but only heard rumors that several strong individuals have one. Chen Shang is secretly shocked. He heard from Su Meiyao's mouth that people who have this fire martial spirit are one of those extremely strong experts. Freewind Mountain, although not very high, is still a very big stone mountain. At the highest point, many houses are constructed, and above the hilltop there was a majestic palace hall. Chen Shang did not expect that in such a place there will actually be a gathering of the black forces at such a large scale. Chen Shang admired his father, who with only the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, actually dared to solo rush into the large dark forces and also killed a lot of their important members. At the foot of the mountain, due to the previous rush by Chen Tianyu, many people are patrolling. This Freewind mountain is way more heavily guarded, but that doesn't matter to Chen Shang. His father had previously beheaded many high-level members, so he was much more relaxed. Chen Shang already knew that the Judo gang is very formidable and that they used all kinds of hidden weapons laced with poison. As long as he took the proper precautions against them, he simply had nothing to fear from this Judo gang. Before, Chen Shang was attacked from all sides by thousands of hidden weapons. Yet all of them didn't even matter to him, those hidden weapons are not even slightly effective against him. One Judo gang member saw Chen Shang coming out from inside the mountain forest. He immediately unsheathed the sword on his waist, shouting, "Who is it?" Chen Shang. When the Judo gang members saw this handsome teenager burst out a mesmerizing slaughter chi while he spoke, they could not help but be alarmed. They had no doubt that this teenage is the rumored Chen Shang. EDN. No shit Sherlock, he just shouted out his name. Chen Zhang's eyes, containing immense amounts of slaughter chi, swept through the group. Suddenly those Judo gang members waved both of their arms quickly as numerous steel needles of varying sizes flew out from their hands. Under the illumination of the sunlight, they all flashed with an intermittent cold aura. Just as Chen Shang expected, most of the Judo gang members used hidden weapons. If it was any ordinary martial artist, they would have difficulty guarding against these attacks and would be easily killed by these people. But for Chen Shang, this simply did not pose that much of a threat. His eyebrows just simply rose while hot aura chi surged out from his body, forming a shield that wrapped around his body. These steel needles were stopped in their tracks by the shield. Chen Shang, watching the sharp steel needles, coldly smiled and emitted a powerful divine sense. This in turn, controlled those countless steel needles, making them turn around right back onto those Judo gang members. Creating all these steel needles shouldn't be that easy, right? Here, I'll return them all back to you. Chen Shang sneered as the countless steel needles fell like a rainstorm towards the Judo gang members. The Judo gang members who weren't able to react properly in time, easily got pierced by the countless different steel needles, resembling a human hedgehog. Afterwards, Chen Shang saw a scalp-tingling scene. Not far from him, those 40 to 50 people, after being pierced by their steel needles, suddenly turned black. These people emitted the most miserable screams as their bodies slowly melted, turning into a black pool of blood. This blood is full of poison, as not just their bodies but even their clothes weren't spared as they melted. Slowly the stones besides them and even those steel needles disappeared, showing just how terrible this poison is. This Judo gang cannot be allowed to remain, Chen Shang said with a frown. He released a large amount of flames incinerating the poisoned blood, then started flying towards the hilltop. Just a moment ago, when Chen Shang and the Judo gang members acted, the intermittent rings of bells came from the hilltop. Chen Shang knew he has been discovered, but he still ran towards the hilltop. Arriving at the top of the hill, surprisingly, there was no one there. When he entered the majestic palace hall, he saw a person covered in a full black robe inside the luxurious large hall. But suddenly behind this figure, appeared a large crowd that surrounded him. Their numbers could only be counted in the thousands. "Is your father dead?" One white-haired, dwarf, ugly old man came out, in a very ugly voice asked. TLN. What the hell, everything about him is ugly. Lol smiley face. Nope, alive and well. Chen Shang calmly replied, which made the ugly dwarf old man's eye fiercely shoot open. Chen Shang determined this old man should be the Judo gang chief. Humph, in that case, why did you come here to die? The Judo gang chief coldly said. When he looked at Chen Shang, there was an expression in his eyes that seemed to be looking at a dead man. I did not come here to die. I came here to collect your life. Chen Shang solemnly stated, his face and tone were completely serious. Chapter 68, Ju Duji. Chapter 68, Ju Duji. Translated by Ash. Listening to this, the Judo gang leader, as if listening to a joke, actually laughed. Following right after him, all the black-robed men around him also started laughing. Their laughter was very ugly, and absolutely terrifying. Your father came quietly, which is why it cost us dearly. If we had taken early precautions then he would have died, but now in your case we have taken these necessary measures. There is no doubt that you will certainly die, Judo gang leader said with a sinister laughter. You are able to come here, then you should have not encountered Song Nanming. It's your good luck, but you coming here is also the same as death. Of course, I will not let you die so easily. I'll use poison to slowly kill you, and even use you to threaten the Chen family. Chen Shang interrupted him and said, I met Song Nanming, and this also means that I also experienced your proud Judo gang, but it seems that they are not very formidable. Chen Shang's words made the triumphant Judo gang leader's complexion suddenly sink, and with an unbelievable look on his face said, Brat, I know you're formidable, but the fact that you're still not dead under the siege of hundreds of groups of the Judo gang would mean that you would have to be in the 10th level of mortal martial realm. I admit, your embroidery needle technique is not bad, pretty dangerous, but in my eyes they are only the acrobatics of a child. Said Chen Shang, who was smiling, but suddenly his smile disappeared and his face turned into a face that was full of slaughter chi. I'm not in the 10th level of mortal martial realm, but I'm able to kill a 10th level mortal martial realm expert. Immediately after speaking, in Chen Zhang's one arm suddenly surged out an invisible chi aura, which was congealed out from universal true chi. If their divine sense was not strong enough, then they simply couldn't find this frightening true chi. When the Judo gang members had just discovered Chen Shang's action, Chen Zhang's fist already fiercely struck out, and rushed forward. Because the speed was too fast, a majestic force struck from the air above, emitting a deafening explosion, and the whole ground broke as it was unable to bear this strong force and the spreading of the chi undulation which shook and smashed everything it passed. This made the entire palace hall to fiercely shake. Chen Zhang's punch, in blink of an eye, burst out and also accurately struck on top of that old man's chest, but what made Chen Shang surprised is the fact that the Judo gang leader actually did not fly out, and instead, in that moment, the Judo gang leader released a chi aura and withstood that fierce power of Chen Zhang's. Judo gang leader hadn't anticipated that Chen Shang would act so suddenly and with this much frightening power. In his own opinion, this power was comparable with several 10th level mortal martial realm experts. He vomited a mouthful of blood, as Chen Zhang's fist had seriously injured him. Attack, kill him. As the voice faded, Chen Zhang's fist suddenly turning golden, and glowing true chi flowed in the veins inside. The place that his feet landed on was smashed, as the extremely powerful true chi madly surged out from his body. Chen Shang punched out a fist once again. Dragon Aura Fist. This isn't Dragon Slayer divine martial skill, and its power can only be imagined, not to mention the fact that it was formed by using universal true chi. Stop, I'm from the 100 Poison sect. He hadn't even finished speaking, and yet Chen Zhang's fist, which was like a ball of golden aura, thunderously struck on the Judo gang leader's head, violently flying and hitting him. True chi containing extremely strong destructive power struck on that head, and the head, together with the upper body, was blown into pieces of meat in the blink of an eye. At the same time, countless flying needles flew towards Chen Zhang's body. Chen Shang did not deal those hidden needles at first, as he knew that all of the hidden weapons were pushed through by pouring true chi in them, and as long as it was only this strong, he could accurately deal with them. Either directly using powerful true chi to burst open them, or by controlling them was the only way to deal with these hidden weapons. Chen Shang had a strong divine sense which he soon released, and those countless flying steel needles coming from all around became perfectly distinguishable for him, because in his eyes those steel needles all became slower. This time, Chen Shang, unlike before, didn't use any true chi to resist these steel needles, but with his divine sense directly manipulated these poisonous needles, and stopped those needles and suspended them entirely in the air. Humph, you only have this same attack pattern. Chen Shang coldly spoke, and from his body surged out a horrifying scorching chi. He used this scorching chi and billows of flame to start burning everything all around him, and in blink of an eye all those steel needles burned down entirely. Those Judo gang members were all shocked, as they thought their hidden weapons were very powerful. Unexpectedly so was the Chen Shang. During their preparation in attempts to launch a second wave of hidden weapons, Chen Shang had suddenly disappeared in the fire sea inside. As they raised their head to look up in the air, there was a huge burning palm, spraying a hot chi undulation, as if a big mountain was pressuring down on them. Boom boom boom. The huge burning palm pressed down, producing violent and thunderous explosions, and pressing hundreds of group of gangs in the Great Hall, and turning them into meat patties, followed by a flame incineration. Chen Shang once again entirely released his Zuke true chi and transformed it into a huge palm, and inside this large hall the entire Judo gang group was killed by the following explosion. In the eyes of a 10th level mortal martial realm expert, ordinary people are like ants. It also isn't an exaggeration that a 10th level mortal martial realm's strength compared with a 8th level mortal martial realm's strength is extremely strong. Although Chen Shang is at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, his strength displayed was neck and neck with martial artists of the 9th level of the mortal martial realm and even the 10th level mortal martial realm, the complete state of mortal martial realm. Chen Shang came out of the hall, arrived outside and again used his terrifying power, capable of smashing a mountain, and completely destroyed the Freewind mountain top. Coming down from the Freewind mountain, Chen Shang immediately operated the Tai Chi divine exercise and converged his irascible slaughter chi. Otherwise, just after killing a group of people, he looked like a slaughtering human fiend god. Chen Shang just came down from the mountain and entered the forest inside, and found one thin middle-aged man was in front of him. This man, who had a plain appearance, wearing a clean white robe with a beard on some places on his chin, seemed like an ordinary man. But when Chen Shang saw this middle-aged man, a sense of dread could not be helped but be born in his heart. This middle-aged man had quietly appeared near him. Moreover, Chen Shang wasn't able to see his strength, and Chen Zhang's intuition also told him that this middle-aged man was one very dangerous figure. I did not expect to even find such a genius in this secular world, even to have a true Qi-Wing type martial skill, and have such an amazing inherent potential for alchemy. Even your strength is enough to be shocking. If you can enter the true martial realm, you certainly would be the most promising young man," said the middle-aged man, with a deadpan expression, and his voice also didn't even have an ounce of feelings. "Who are you?" asked Chen Shang, looking defensive. That middle-aged man revealed a very stiff smile and said, "My name is Zhu Duzi, the founder of the Judo gang you just destroyed, yet you say who I am." Chen Shang was surprised in his mind. He knew this Zhu Duzi was here for a very long time but still didn't act, and even watched the Judo gang's destruction which he himself had established. One can clearly understand the goal of this Zhu Duzi from this attitude. He was only waiting for Chen Shang to consume his true chi so that he can easily deal with Chen Shang. As he would rather destroy his own clan, this showed how important he regarded Chen Shang. 10th level mortal martial realm. Chen Shang solemnly said. "Good eyesight." Zhu Duzi coldly smiled, looking at the burning palace hall on the mountaintop, and said contemptuously, "For me in this world, I simply do not care about anything related to the Judo gang, as I only said it for recreational purposes. You have consumed a lot of true chi. Rest assured, I will not kill you. I'll take you back to 100 Poison Sect and present you as a gift to the sect elder, and they'll like you very much, but prior to this you must hand some things to me or I'll let you experience what is called a living death." After speaking, Zhu Duzi's face turned completely ruthless. Chapter 69, Surprise. Chapter 69, Surprise. The other party was at the 10th level of the mortal martial realm, which would be Chen Zhang's first time facing an expert of this level. Moreover, the expert was a disciple of a martial arts sect. Yet there was not an ounce of fear in his heart. On the contrary, he was rather excited because he hadn't met a decent opponent for quite a while now. "What do you want me to do, surrender?" Chen Shang asked, and, though he looked serious, he still gave off a very calm feeling, which made even Zhu Duzi slightly surprised. "The 1,000 vein fruit, the 1,000-year beast Dan, the hell spirit grass, your cultivating martial skill, as well as all of your pills, give them all to me." Zhu Duzi's eyes were filled with greed, because these things, even inside a martial arts sect, were very precious and he believed that he wouldn't be able to get them anytime soon. "Come and collect it yourself." Chen Shang pursed his lips, as a sliver of a smile could be found on his face, and his previously grim face was suddenly full of soaring war intention, as slaughter chi valiantly soared from his robust body. Seeing the change in Chen Zhang's appearance, Zhu Duzi was startled, because, mere moments ago, Chen Shang had looked like someone whose true chi was almost depleted. "Humph, callow brat, a youngling like you dares to try and run rampant in front of me." Zhu Duzi waved his hand and a blackish poisonous powder immediately surged out from his sleeve. It transformed into a fierce wind and blew towards Chen Shang. At such a close range, Chen Shang was simply unable to react in time, and he was, in the blink of an eye, drowned by the billowing black poisonous wind. "Brat, the 100 Poison Sect is one of the 5 devil sects and specializes in poisons. They don't have any powerful martial skills. Even though he is in the 10th level of the mortal martial realm, he cannot even utilize half of the usual strength of a 10th level mortal martial realm practitioner. As long as you can deal with the poison they use on you, it is easy to deal with them." In Chen Zhang's mind, Bai Yu's voice appeared. Previously, Chen Shang had learned several methods of resisting poison from the two beauties beforehand. At this point, the vibrant wood attribute true chi wrapped Chen Zhang's entire body like a cocoon. However, the poisonous powder was still able to seep in. If his true chi was not vibrant enough and wasn't resisting the poisonous air internally and externally, he would have been poisoned. This shows how fearsome the 100 Poison Sect are when using their poisons. Chen Zhang's body suddenly shook as the poisonous mist shrouding his body was dispersed. It was even blown away towards Zhu Duzi, while at the same time Chen Shang took one step and arrived in front of Zhu Duzi. He opened his mouth and roared, casting Azure Dragon Roar, which started spewing lightning chi aura, and accompanied the poisonous mist to attack Zhu Duzi. After he finished casting Azure Dragon Roar, Chen Shang then cast Dragon Aura Fist. His true chi transformed into a dragon aura. Using this dragon aura, he punched out a heavenly tiger storm-killing fist. After this frightening dragon chi aura was released, it generated fearsome chi aura explosions, one after another. Zhu Duzi simply didn't expect Chen Shang to resist his poison and even more, to counterattack him at lightning speed, furthermore with such a fearsome true chi. In the blink of an eye, together with his own poisonous mist, dozen or so blows from Chen Shang had struck his body. Each fist that was struck on Zhu Duzi's body, produced a fearsome chi explosion, which made even the ground tremble. Leaves started to fall from the nearby trees due to the aftershock, while Zhu Duzi vomited a mouthful of blood. At any rate, Zhu Duzi was also a 10th level mortal martial realm martial practitioner. Though he often used poison, his true chi was still very vibrant, so he still had a certain level control over his true chi. He was capable of quickly resisting Chen Zhang's violent and fearsome punches with his vibrant true chi. Well brat, I underestimated you. But do not look down on me quite yet. While Zhu Duzi spoke, he released dozens of pitch-black Snickers knees, which pierced through the air and flew towards Chen Shang. TLN. Snickers knee, a large sword-like knife. Chen Shang quickly moved his true chi and released an aura wall in front of him, blocking the pitch-black Snickers knees. But a Snickers knee is unlike the previous poisonous needles and weren't so easy to deal with. Surprisingly, these Snickers knees, that contained poison, slowly penetrated his aura wall. Not far away Zhu Duzi was controlling these Snickers knees with his divine sense. Brat, you're still too tender. Explode. Zhu Duzi sneered, and at that exact moment the Snickers knees exploded. A powerful chi aura burst out from them, while these Snickers knees turned out to be somewhat special. Unexpectedly, compressed chi aura could be poured into them, so when they exploded, Chen Zhang's aura wall was taken along with them, moreover a black poisonous mist burst out. This Zhu Duzi had endless means and it was virtually impossible to guard against all of them. If it was any other 10th level mortal martial realm expert, they certainly would have been killed. The people we both have previously encountered are very different. The people you met, though you can easily defeat them, they're still nothing in my eyes. Zhu Duzi gradually walked towards Chen Shang. The power generated by the explosion of those Snickers knees caused Chen Shang to fly before he was smashed into the ground. Zhu Duzi thought Chen Shang had been seriously injured and also poisoned. He didn't expect at all that Chen Shang would suddenly bounce back from the ground and rush towards him like a bolt of lightning. Chen Zhang's right hand transformed into a dragon claw. This incredibly sharp claw was congealed out by using his Azure Dragon Aura Chi, which was capable of destroying even the strongest of defenses. Like a lightning bolt, Chen Shang suddenly swooped towards him. Zhu Duzi was simply defenseless. All he could do in time was to mobilize his true chi to reduce the damage as much as possible. Yet, he still underestimated Chen Zhang's Azure Dragon Claw, which, to his surprise, directly stabbed into his abdomen. Engulfing Devil Skill. Chen Shang cried in his heart, operating the frightening Devil Skill passed down by Bai Yu, engulfing the 10th level mortal martial realm Zhu Duzi's true chi. Zhu Duzi was greatly shocked in his heart, as he could feel how his vibrant true chi was rapidly pouring out of his wounds. He could see on Chen Zhang's handsome face that it was now abruptly covered with hideous blue veins, and he could sense that his true chi was directly pouring into these blue veins. Chen Shang was engulfing his true chi. Zhu Duzi panicked. Every devil sect members aspired for this type of devil skill, but these type of devil skills are only owned by devil path sects. However, at this moment, Zhu Duzi was personally experiencing it. Zhu Duzi roared, as he took another Snickers knee out and madly stabbed it towards Chen Shang. But Chen Shang, before he had casted the engulfing devil technique, had released his strongest chi aura defense around his body, because it was harder for him to gather his own true chi while he was engulfing Zhu Duzi's true chi, thereby reducing his power greatly. Boundless true chi madly surged into Chen Zhang's internal body, violently surging into his meridians. This wildly flowing true chi caused incessant pain in his meridians, but on the other hand Zhu Duzi's complexion was turning increasingly white, and the strength of his whole body was becoming weaker and weaker. In the blink of an eye more than half of his true chi was gone. Chen Shang extracted his right hand from Zhu Duzi's abdomen, while fiercely punching out with his left hand. Tyrannical true chi surged out and bombarded on Zhu Duzi's body, breaking open his thin and flat body. Zhu Duzi wasn't dead yet, as that skinny and hideous face of his was filled with fear, anger and despair, all at the same time. You. What did you do to me? I don't have my true qi. That is dozens of years of my cultivation. Gone. Go die already. Chen Shang punched out in the air and a tyrannical true qi transformed into black qi aura which struck Zhu Duzi's body. The upper half of his body almost exploded, as it turned into many bits and pieces. Chen Shang picked up Zhu Duzi's storage pouch and hastily flew away. His body couldn't withstand the new internal tyrannical true qi, which was raging inside his meridians and 5 zhang and 6 fu. His face was ashen. Brat, I already told you that you should not engulf someone whose strength is much stronger than your own. If you aren't able to control this engulfed power, your body will explode and you will perish. Bai Yu coldly shouted. Her voice was full of anger, but there was a sliver of concern within it. Sister Yu, do not worry, I've a sense of proportion. Chen Shang operated the Tai Chi divine exercise, refining as much as possible of the engulfed true qi, along with swallowing many pills, which could help him in refining the true qi. Chapter 70. Inheritance Bead. Chapter 70. Inheritance Bead. Bai Yu was very pissed off, but now was not the time to teach him a lesson. Quickly find a place and carefully refine it. Bai Yu instructed. Her ice-cold voice sounded somewhat anxious, which made Chen Zhang's heart feel a little warm. He suddenly felt somewhat guilty for not remembering Bai Yu's advice, even though she had insisted on it so many times. Chen Shang went deep into the mountain forest, and prepared to refine the engulfed tyrannical true qi above a giant tree. This true qi rejected him after entering his body because this true qi wasn't originally his, thus becoming maniacally oppressive, and if it was not suppressed, then it would soon blast him to death. Fortunately, the situation itself wasn't all that bad. Although Zhu Duzi was in 10th level mortal martial realm, his true qi was not so pure. Moreover, his true qi didn't possess any kind of attribute. The Tai Chi yin and yang diagram within Chen Shang quickly started spinning, sucking that muddy true qi inside the Tai Chi diagram for refinement. Immediately after that, pure white true qi started to shoot towards the 5 balls of different attributed true qi breeding above the Tai Chi diagram. Mei Yao sister, what do I do next? I feel that these 5 true qi balls aren't able to assimilate that much true qi in any way possible. Chen Shang asked. Compress them and congeal a form. Congeal 5 different shapes from these 5 elements true qi balls. Su Meiyao immediately replied. So I'm going to enter the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, the true form realm. Chen Shang asked. Compressing the true qi and congealing out a form was done to enter the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. Not so fast, since you want to condensate the form from all 5 true qi balls, and you're also cultivating the divine exercise of 4 symbols, then you should congeal the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird and the black tortoise, these 4 entities. Su Meiyao instructed. Chen Shang frowned and said, but I don't know the true appearance of these 4 divine beasts, so how am I going to congeal their appearance? Moreover, my main cultivation exercise is the Tai Chi divine exercise, so shouldn't my true form be relevant with my main exercise? The divine exercise of 4 symbols is a branch exercise of the Tai Chi divine exercise. The Tai Chi divine exercise and the divine exercise of 4 symbols have the very same mnemonics for congealing out shapes for entering the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, so if you follow according to my previous mnemonics, naturally, you'll be able to congeal the 4 divine beast forms. Su Meiyao spoke. TLN. Mnemonics, Chanting Sutra. After listening to what Su Meiyao said, he immediately thought about the one seemingly common mnemonics of the divine exercise of 4 symbols and the Tai Chi divine exercise, which he couldn't completely understand. Su Meiyao once said that this was the most crucial mnemonics, however, she hadn't told him that this mnemonics was responsible for congealing the true form. Chen Shang immediately started operating the exercise according to the mnemonics, letting the true qi flow into his dantian according to the prescribed method. He first decided to congeal the azure dragon beast form, and he started compressing a large amount of true qi to congeal this form. During this process, a large amount of true qi was compressed together, and because of this, true qi continuously exploded. Due to these small explosions, there was a qualitative change in his true qi, making the true qi much more vibrant and intrepid. An entire day went by, and above the Tai Chi diagram in Chen Zhang's dantian there was true qi, in the form of a snake, dancing. Currently it was only an embryonic form and had not fully taken form yet, so one couldn't see the minutiae of the azure dragon on it yet. Your true form has just taken shape, so it's not the genuine and final form. Only after reaching the 10th level of the mortal martial realm, the complete realm, will the true form within your body be lifelike. You must separately compress all 5 attributed true chi into a form, and then only can you consider yourself to have advanced into the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. Su Meiyao continued. Chen Shang nodded his head and continued to cultivate. The next morning, warm morning light shone onto the branches and the leaves above Chen Zhang's body. Chen Shang gradually opened his eyes and gently sighed, as currently he was only able to congeal 2 true chi forms. The azure dragon and the vermilion bird forms were extremely fuzzy, but they were molded by compressing a large amount of true chi, so they were much more vibrant than before. Originally the true chi ball was like a small bead in a very big space, containing a few hundreds of rice grain-sized true chi inside them, but now that very small bead contained tens of thousands of rice grain-sized true chi in them, but this was just the initial state. If one really wanted to congeal a lifelike true chi form, then at that time one needed to compress hundreds of thousands of this rice grain-sized true chi in that tiny little space inside. Only 2 true chi forms. Chen Shang inspected the interior of his dantian and was slightly disappointed, while watching the snake form and the bird form spreading its wings above the Tai Chi diagram. It's enough. That guy's true chi had a large amount of impurities, and after refining it and compressing it, not much of it remained. Su Meiyao spoke. Humph, next time don't do it again. Bai Yuyu angry voice sounded out, making Chen Zhang's whole body tremble. Chen Shang immediately smiled apologetically and said, Yuyu, sister, I was wrong, there will be no next time. I know that you wouldn't dare do it again, Bai Yuyu crooned. Although he hadn't entered the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, Chen Shang still felt that his strength had been enhanced by quite a lot as the small explosions that were generated during the compression of his true chi had enhanced the quality of his true chi. Chen Shang previously could blow up a tree with a rice grain-sized true chi, but now with the very same amount of true chi he was able to blow up 10 trees. This was because a grain of his current true chi was made by compressing 10 grains of the previous true chi, steeply improving its quality. This was the result of his constant cultivation. This compression of true chi was simply boundless, and the more he wished to exceed the previous quality, the more he must try to compress it even further. But this compression process was very arduous, because it requires the absorption of large amounts of spirit chi and converting it into true chi. Chen Shang asked, Meiyao sister, using the divine exercise of 4 symbols I can only congeal 4 forms, yet I've 5 elements of true chi, what form will my earth true chi congeal? In the Tai Chi divine exercise there is a divine elephant. However, when I was congealing its form, I chose to congeal a lotus. An elephant. Chen Shang felt a burst of joy in his heart, because in his mind, the elephant was the most powerful beast. Chen Shang was still sitting on the top of the tree, and because Judu Gang had been dealt with, this area was now safe. It was at this time that he took out Juduzi's storage pouch, and looked inside to find if there was anything valuable. There were a lot of items inside, however, the majority of these things were similar to the poisonous needle hidden weapon. Poisonous powders, poisonous herbs were also present, and there were some antidotes and dans. There were also some large spirit coins, and all of these things were useful to Chen Shang, because if he was to encounter any form of danger on the path that was laid ahead of him, these hidden weapons and poisonous herbs could be used to attack others, which made it a pretty good harvest. Chen Shang also found a square jade box inside the storage pouch. He took the jade box out, but when he tried to open it, he found to his surprise that he wasn't able to open it. Try using your divine sense. There must be something inside this jade box, and only with a strong divine sense will you be able to open it. Su Meiyao spoke, as although she was inside the ring, she was still able to see outside. Chen Shang immediately poured his divine sense into the jade box, but he was immediately panic-stricken. This jade box was like a bottomless pit, moreover, it was engulfing his divine sense, and even when he wanted to retrieve his divine sense, he found that it took him a lot of effort to do so. After a few seconds, Chen Shang felt dizzy, but at this time the jade box stopped engulfing his divine sense and automatically opened. Chen Shang only saw a walnut-sized jade pearl inside it, and this jade pearl was also placed upon a yellow divine beast skin. At this point, Bai Yuyu and Su Meiyao came out from inside the ring and they stood on a thick branch at the giant tree top next to Chen Shang, intently watching the thing that was in Chen Zhang's hands. This is an inheritance bead. As long as your consciousness enters this inheritance bead, you'll be able to receive the message that is inside, said Su Meiyao. She took out the beast skin padding below the inheritance bead, and the beast skin had been folded over many times, so after unfolding it open, it was very large. So in other words, this bead contains information that was left behind by other people. Chen Shang asked. Right, some sects deans use this kind of method. A majority of the deans pass down their martial skills in this way, so this inheritance bead may contain a martial skill or an alchemy experience left behind by others. Bai Yu said. Chen Shang felt delighted in his heart, as he had not expected that Zhu Duzi would actually possess this kind of a treasure. He immediately poured his consciousness inside the inheritance jade pearl. Immediately after, a large amount of information suddenly surged into his mind, and after reading all of the information in his mind, his face was full of ecstasy. Chapter 71, New Road. What is inside the inheritance bead? Su Meiyao, seeing Chen Shang so happy, quickly asked. Hey, it is Refiner's Scroll, and it also contains some Refiner's experience. Chen Shang laughed. The demand for refiners was much more than the demand for an alchemists, and low-level refiners could be found everywhere, but there were only few grand refiners who were capable of refining formidable equipments. These people were like alchemists in reputation. But after Chen Shang saw that Refiner's Scroll, he was suddenly very confident that it would allow him to become a formidable refiner. Of course though, he would still have to put more practice into it than alchemy. Su Meiyao took the inheritance bead and after taking a glance, on her face emerged out a charming smile. This is a really good thing. There actually is a tutorial for refining brilliant grade weapons. Moreover, there are many schematics, so you better try to have a good grasp of it. Of course, Chen Shang said with a smile. What is painted on the beast's skin? It is a map, said Su Meiyao, and at the same time she handed over the inheritance bead to Bai Yu, letting Bai Yu take a look at it. What map? Chen Shang quickly asked. A map leading to a herbal garden, but to open this herbal garden you need a key, and method to refine this key is inside the inheritance bead. Su Meiyao said. Chen Shang quickly went through all the information that entered his mind inside just a moment ago, and soon found the refining method for the key. The materials required were very easy to find, but the difficult part was engraving the complex spirit veins on the key. The key is in my hand, it fell off while opening the map. Bai Yu spread her white palm, only to see a small key with the size of a finger, while being covered in golden patterns. Those spirit veins were producing bizarre power, and these patterns were created only after numerous years of research by countless refiners. All equipments must have spirit veins on them, otherwise it would be just an ordinary grade equipment. Chen Zhang's brilliant flame dragon furnace had many complex spirit veins inside and outside of it, and this was the reason which allowed the brilliant flame dragon furnace to have that bizarre power. Editor's note: Flame Dragon Brilliant Furnace changed to Brilliant Flame Dragon Furnace. We'll change it in the previous chapters as well once we reach them. Sorry for the inconvenience. Skeptical smiley face. The majority of spirit veins are only passed down, and as long as the spirit veins are precisely carved upon the equipments during its refinement, then it can be considered successful. This is not that difficult, and that's also why there are many refiners. This thing looks like it is many years old, and if the garden is still there, then maybe there will be a lot of mature spirit herbs. Su Meiyao laughed. Chen Shang nods his head and asked, this herbal garden is where? It's on the way to the extreme martial sect, so it seems you have to leave early for the extreme martial sect. If this herbal garden has a lot of spirit herbs, then you should be able to enter the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, said Su Meiyao. Finally going to extreme martial sect. Chen Shang was slightly excited. I'll go back now and settle everything, and bid farewell to my father. After returning to the Chen family, Chen Shang first went to Chen Tianyu, and seeing Chen Shang return safely and in one piece, Chen Tianyu let loose a big breath. Good, you were able to come back, said Chen Tianyu with face full of affection. Dad, your complexion has recovered a lot. This is a detoxification dan. After you take it, it'll allow you to recover quickly. Chen Shang said with a smile and then threw a bottle to Chen Tianyu. This dan bottle he obtained from Zhu Duzi could detoxify a majority of the poisons. Chen Tianyu did not ask how Chen Shang dealt with the Judu gang, as he knew that if Chen Shang could bring back the antidote then the Judu gang was no more. He clearly knew Chen Zhang's style of doing things. Dad, it's about time for me to depart. And although Chen Shang said this with a face full of smiles, but in his heart he was very sad. Chen Tianyu slightly sighed, and then said with a smile, yes, you ought to go because there you'll be able to fully realize your potential, and by allowing our Chen family to have a foothold in the King City, you've already contributed too much to the family. Dad, I'm leaving. Chen Shang stood up, walked towards Chen Tianyu and hugged him. You've grown up, I'm very relieved. Take care. Chen Tianyu was completely sad. While he patted Chen Zhang's back, he knew that after Chen Shang left to go to those martial arts sects, it was possible that he would only come back after many years. Chen Shang gave Chen Tianyu some mortal-level high-grade dans, then left the Chen family, and rushed straight to the Dan King Hall, after which he bid farewell to Chen Luzhong and Meng Bo, embarking on his way to the extreme martial sect. While parting, Chen Shang felt a little melancholic, but he was also very looking forward to again meeting them in the future, as he believed at that time he, his father and the whole Chen family would have earth-shaking changes. Chen Shang from afar looked at King City, and looking at one of strongest city in the secular world where many strong experts reside, countless emotions surged in his heart, as although there were many experts inside the city, but compared with those martial arts sect, it can be considered as nothing. Shenxian, here I come. Looking at the distant mountain range stretching 10,000 li, Chen Shang clenched his fist, and fiercely broke into a gallop. If he wanted to go to the extreme martial sect, then he would have to pass through the mountain forest frequented by a large amount of demon beasts. It was a long way to go, full of danger, but as long as he safely reached the other side of the forest, he would have reached the place with plenty of spirit chi, and that is the location of those martial arts sects. The secular world and the gathering location of all martial arts experts was separated by a very large mountain range, and any weak person who entered this mountain range will meet their end. Mei Yao's sister, how is the research going for that Dragon Slayer divine martial skill? Is it any good? Chen Shang asked, as he now urgently wanted to learn more powerful martial skills. Rest assured, wait for me and senior sister to thoroughly research this book, and at that time we'll tell you how to learn the previous dragon martial technique again, so do not worry. Su Meiyao replied. Having these two mysterious beauty as companions, Chen Shang was very happy, and they were equivalent to his teachers, always patiently guiding him and even helping him conquer the miseries of cultivation. Chen Shang had already memorized the route to the herbal garden, and after he entered the piece of forest as similar to a big mountain, it was very easy for him to find the starting point of the route, as a seemingly gourd-shaped mountain was present in front of him, which was the first route marker. In order to find that herbal garden more quickly, Chen Shang used vermilion bird fire wings and he spread his wings and soared high into the sky. The vermilion bird fire true chi of his has already congealed out of form, and thus after the compression, his true chi was much more vibrant, so he did not have to worry about his true chi suddenly running out. In order to not let anyone find him flying in the sky, Chen Shang entered the layers of clouds and hid himself inside of it. His speed of flying was too quick, and all of a sudden he entered the depths of that mountain forest. Moreover, this way he could also avoid some of the demon beasts, and although he did not fear the demon beasts, avoiding some of the problems along the way was rather convenient. The location of the herbal garden was very dangerous and also hidden inside the mountain range, located in one of the small valleys inside. Chen Shang had been rushing for 3 days on the road, and only after this period of time did he see that mountain valley, but inside that mountain valley there was nothing. Chen Shang swooped down from the sky and landed inside the mountain valley, and although this place's scenery was very beautiful, there were poisonous miasma drifting outside the mountain valley as well, there being various poisonous weeds. There was one cave inside the mountain valley, which was indicated on the map, and although Chen Shang looked around for a bit and then found that cave, this cave was blocked by tall weeds. He took out a long knife and chopped off those weeds, then cautiously entered the cave, taking out a torch for illumination. This damn place is hidden, if there was no map, it would be really difficult to find. Chen Shang muttered, as he could not understand why this herbal garden was inside the cave. After entering the depths of the cave, Chen Shang was blocked by an iron door, and he tried a bit to open it, but no matter how hard he tried, he was not able to shake that iron door. Also, regardless of how much strength he used to strike that iron door, the cave didn't even shake a little bit, and if he was attacking an ordinary mountain, it would have collapsed into large pieces long ago. This door should be absorbing your power. Honestly, use the key to open it, said Su Meiyao. Chen Shang quickly found the keyhole on the door. He inserted the key, turns it, and heard the "kacha" sound. As the iron door gradually opened, a dazzling light shone from inside out. With the opening of the iron gate, Chen Shang was completely shocked by the scenery inside. Chapter 72, Big Harvest. Unexpectedly inside the iron gate wasn't a pitch-black mountainside, on the contrary, it was filled with spirit herbs and spirit trees, and this beautiful mountain valley was filled with bright light. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu quickly came out, and after they saw this, confusion was clearly visible on their faces. All the spirit herbs here are more than 1,000 years old. Su Meiyao said. 1,000-year ginseng, 1,000-year spirit grass, 1,000-year profound spirit ginseng, 1,000-year earth spirit grass. Although some of these spirit herbs were auxiliary in nature, but after all, they were more than 1,000 years old, and now many of these looked like a big turnip. Chen Shang estimated there were a few hundred of these herbs. There are almost 20 metal spirit fruits, and 1,000 vein fruits, and there are also more than 100 purple spirit fruit. Fuck asterisk 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 asterisk, this father is not dreaming Chen Shang cried out loud with surprise, and his heart was fiercely beating because he was incessantly excited. Although a purple spirit fruit was not as precious as a metal spirit fruit, but it was still very expensively sold in the market, as it was one of the main herbs in refining a type of spirit pill. Humph, why are you so happy with only this small amount? What a bumpkin, Bai Yuio coldly said. Chen Shang curled his lips and said, I know that the two sisters' origin is out of the ordinary, and of course in your eyes these things are nothing, but currently for me they are all nothing but treasures. Quickly help me pick all of these spirit herbs. It should be enough for me to refine spirit level dans. Chen Shang excitedly said. Currently he didn't know how to refine spirit level dans, and he knew that he would definitely fail many times, but in this herbal garden there were many auxiliary spirit herbs, so they could allow him to save a lot of his expenses. Only someone like Chen Shang would make the two peerless beauties work in the field, which also made Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu secretly despise him. I'm not a man, and this beauty is used to pain but not used to the dirty work. Although these words were on Su Meiyao's mouth, she still started to pick those spirit herbs which were more than 1,000 years old. Humph, do not be loquacious. Bai Yuyu snorted, making Chen Shang immediately shut up, as he did not dare to offend this frosty beauty. After half a day's worth of time, the majority of the spirit herbs which were thousands of years old, in this herbal garden, had already been harvested, and stored inside the residence of Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu inside the storage ring. There are 120 purple spirit fruits, more than 20 metal spirit fruits and 1,000 vein fruit, which should be enough for me to refine the foundation building dan. A big grin was visible on Chen Zhang's face, as the foundation building dan was not only useful for people entering the true martial realm, but was even taken by people who had already entered the true martial realm, as this pill can allow them to raise their power level, so it was a very useful profound level dan. Ed, if names for dans and stuff change, please forgive us. The names will also change in previous chapters once we reach them. The high-grade spirit level true elemental dan was already considered to be very precious, not to mention the profound level dan, which was even a grade above the spirit level. However, Chen Shang was not currently anxious about the issue of whether he was capable of refining it, as it would take a long time for him to learn how to refine high-grade spirit level dans, not to mention refining profound level dans. Inside the herb garden, some of the spirit herbs were in their growth period, and all these herbs, which were auxiliary in nature, were also several hundred years old. Chen Shang was in no hurry to pick them, as of now he had hundreds of thousand-years-old spirit herbs. Moreover, all of them were very big. There are a lot of powerful arrays inside this herbal garden, that can not only allow sunlight to shine through this thick rock, but can also gather a large amount of spirit chi, which allows this herbal garden to breed these spirit herbs. It seems that the man who created it certainly must have left the mortal martial world, said Su Meiyao while looking at this beautiful mountainside. Leaving the mortal martial world meant that they had the power to break through space. Chen Shang was also very much secretly yearning for it, but if he wanted to get to that state, he did not know which year or month he would reach such a stage. Chen Shang, here you can be at ease and calmly cultivate, and enter the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. Once you're done you can again leave for the extreme martial sect, said Bai Yuyu, looking like a high and might empress while she was wearing a dress shining with a golden aura, which looked noble and elegant as the soft sunlight shone upon it. Chen Shang bought this dress for her. Moreover, she liked to wear it a lot, and now that her and Su Meiyao could wear these beautiful clothes and bathe in sunlight, this made them feel very joyous. However, if it wasn't as a last resort, then they didn't want to stay inside that ring. Chen Shang now needed a massive amount of true chi to congeal out the forms for the other 3 attributes of true chi, and it should be known that he engulfed 1/10th level mortal martial realm practitioner, but he was only able to form 2 of the attributes of his true chi. One should then consider how much true chi he needed to transform the other 3 attributes true chi into their forms. The spirit chi in this herbal garden was very rich, and in addition to that Chen Shang also had the yin and yang divine veins. Chen Shang closed his eyes, and he imagined himself in a spirit chi sea that was simply absorbing the spirit chi. Even after all this, it would still take quite a long time for him to enter the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. Now Chen Shang knew why the people who entered the 9th level of the mortal martial realm in the secular world are at an old age. This was because of the severely sparse spirit chi in the secular world. Now you should start learning how to refine a true chi dan. During the daytime you should refine them, while at night, you should eat those dans. At the same time as when you digest its potency, you must also absorb the spirit qi, said Su Meiyao, who then began passing her experience of refining the true qi dan to Chen Shang. The Grand Elemental Dan was a high-grade mortal level Dan, which was capable of producing a large amount of true qi, and thereby improving the speed of cultivation. The true qi Dan was much better than the Grand Elemental Dan, as it was a low-grade spirit level Dan, and was also one of the most popular Dans in martial arts sects. The true Elemental Dan was a high-grade spirit level Dan, similarly also capable of producing true qi, but was a lot more expensive than the true qi Dan, and ordinary people cannot even afford it. The true qi dan required only one main herb, and that was the purple spirit fruit. Currently, Chen Shang had more than 120 of these, and also had a lots of auxiliary spirit herbs, which generally only needed to be 500 years old, but if 1000 years old auxiliary herbs were used to refine the dan instead, then only a little bit of it would be needed and it would also be very cost-effective. Chen Shang took a deep breath, and started digesting the alchemy experience passed on by Su Meiyao. Afterwards, he began sorting the herbs, separating each set from one another, and from this he would know how many times he had failed since he started. Chen Shang took out his brilliant flame dragon furnace, and Bai Yuyu immediately rushed to a distant area, while quietly chatting with Su Meiyao, as their sisterly bond was very good. Although Bai Yuyu was cold, she was very good to Chen Shang and Su Meiyao, but if it was anyone else, she would be disinclined to pay any attention to them, let alone talk to them. Not long after Chen Shang began, he failed, and purple smoke burst out from the brilliant flame dragon furnace. On the second try, he failed once again, and until the 10th try. Only then had he entered the intermediate alchemical stage, and at this stage he had to bake all the herbs into herbal powder, and started fusing the herbal powder and herbal spirit qi. But at this stage, he failed once again. God damn it, this purple spirit herb is like one bad apple spoiling the whole bunch. Ah, I always fail, and this purple spirit fruit is the root of my trouble. Chen Shang complainingly cursed. Distant Su Meiyao giggled and said, it is inevitable for the high-level Dan's main and auxiliary herbs to conflict, and the higher level the Dan is, the more obvious the conflict is, and the more difficult it is to resolve. This is simply your job to explore. Su Meiyao had been extremely proud of her own alchemy talent, but after the appearance of this freak Chen Shang, she had to bear twice as much, but now seeing the expression of Chen Shang who was experiencing failure, she was very happy to laugh. Chen Shang cast aside everything, and looking at that charming Su Meiyao's face brimming with a happy smile, he secretly cursed in his heart. Meiyao sister, how many times did you fail? Asked Chen Shang. Are you testing my memory? My memory is very clear, and it was 72 times. Su Meiyao said, and although she failed so many times, she was very satisfied with this number. It must be known that other alchemists, if they had not failed more than 100 times, they were embarrassed to even say they had learned how to refine the true qi dan. Chapter 73, Succeeded. Chen Shang muttered in his heart, I'll let you be happy for now. Wait for me and I'll definitely make you unable to laugh. He rested for a moment and then continued refining, but this time, he did not use the brilliant flame dragon furnace, rather he took out the inferior black alchemical furnace of his that was given to him by his father. Oh, using the brilliant flame dragon furnace will let you save time, otherwise you will not even be able to finish refinement once in one day, said Su Meiyao. You do not need to mind my feelings, it does not matter, said Bai Yuyu, as she thought Chen Shang was worried that she would not be able to adapt to the exposure of the peculiar breath of the flame dragon. From then on Chen Shang had not paid any attention to the two beauties again, and with complete dedication he started refining the dan. During the night, a beautiful soft moonlight shone through the special array, penetrating the thick rocks, and shining on the mountainside in the herbal garden. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu were lying on a bed, and the two beauties were cuddling with each other. With even breathing they were already inside their dreamland. It was very rare of them to nap in this situation, but as they were very relaxed around Chen Shang, they could sleep soundly. Chen Shang was refining dans, and once in a while he took a peek at the beautiful and attractive sleeping postures of the two beauties. Seeing this his mind was already a mess, and his furnace nearly burst due to this. It would be nice, if I was able to sleep in the middle of them. Chen Shang secretly thought this in his heart, and if this idea came to be known by Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu, he definitely would have been despised by them for a very long time. A day and a night went by, and only then did Chen Shang enter the last stage of alchemy process, the solidifying dan stage, but in the end he still failed. Among the number of failures, Chen Shang had learned to be very calm. He had a large amount of herbs, moreover, with only 1,000-year purple spirit fruit he would be able to refine the true Qi Dan 10 times, and he had more than 100 of these, so he didn't believe he would encounter failure with all of them. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu only entered the ring when they took a bath and changed their clothes. Chen Shang found out that these two beauties liked to change their clothes several times in a day, and they never wore the same clothes. Moreover, they were also happy in showing it to him. Every time Chen Shang saw them coming out after changing their clothes, he would offer a few good and remarkable praises, but every praise of his was different every time. This flattering was just a scratch on the surface for him, and always let Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu's hearts be filled with joy. Chen Shang knew these two Yao Jing had already lived for more than 1,000 years, but in the end they were girls, and girls, more than anything, like to wear beautiful clothes. All day blindly swaying in front of men, but men only like to watch if they weren't wearing any clothes. Yu sister, Meiyao sister, I'll continue to buy more beautiful clothes even after entering the martial arts sect, and I think those places should have many other styles. Chen Shang said while laughing. You brat. You're quite good at playing gooseberry, and you know the ways to flatter us, said Su Meiyao with a gentle laugh. Thanks, Bai Yuyu said in a low voice, and though her voice was still cold, Chen Shang, who listened to it, seemed to find an inexhaustible gentleness. Rest assured, I'll try hard to elevate my strength, and as soon as possible, I'll help you recover your strength, and eradicate your enemies so that you can wear the clothes I buy and freely roam in the world. Chen Shang said with earnest look on his face, and this moved the hearts of Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu. They were now seriously injured, and not mentioning the fact that they still had an enemy, even some slightly powerful experts could easily defeat them. Chen Shang was their only hope, and in their eyes Chen Shang was behaving like a sensible brother, so they were very pleased, even though he sometimes saw them with a wicked expression in his eyes. Again a day went by, and Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu were fast asleep cuddling together. When the sunlight shone down on them, they opened their pretty eyes. However, they saw Chen Shang with both his eyes closed, and with serious face, sweating profusely and refining pills, as he was at the most crucial stage. This was Chen Zhang's 12th try in refining the true Qi Dan, and having this much progress, Su Meiyao thought it was an accident. A moment later, Chen Shang took a long deep breath and opened his eyes, his whole face brimming with happiness. He looked towards those two beauties sitting on the bed, and laughingly said, "Two sisters, how about you try the fresh breakfast I just made?" After speaking, Chen Shang opened the lid of the black alchemical furnace, and inside there were 5 true Qi Dans glittering with a purple light, which made Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu endlessly shocked. Their beautiful faces were full of an unbelieving expression, and quickly rushed towards that alchemical furnace and saw the breakfast inside. Only Chen Shang could casually treat these true Qi Dans as breakfast. Meiyao sister, I only failed 12 times, but also refined it with an inferior alchemical furnace. It seems that learning to refine pills with the lowest grade alchemical furnace is a lot more subtle. Meiyao sister, this little brother is ashamed, I was not able to reach your 72 failure mark. Chen Shang grinned, and seeing this Su Meiyao could not wait to knock out those white teeth of his. Infuriating little rascal, when I failed 72 times at that time I was praised as a genius by my teacher, but you. Su Meiyao tooted with her little mouth, and though her face was full of hidden bitterness, but in her heart she was very happy. Continue to try hard, and now use the brilliant flame dragon furnace. It'll allow you to refine a lot more in a shorter amount of time. Bai Yuyu with her jade-like finger picked the true Qi Dan, and put it inside her beautiful little mouth, lightly chewing. This appearance of hers was truly attractive. On the other hand, Su Meiyao was still flighty, and while Bai Yuyu was eating, these two beauties were showing the most charming aspect of theirs. Chen Shang, who was watching this, was dazed, and in his heart he could not wait to put them in his arms, caressing them nicely. With an inferior alchemical furnace it took him a little more than a day, but using the brilliant flame dragon furnace it only took him half an hour to refine it twice, and at the beginning he still failed while using the brilliant flame dragon furnace, but once he was familiar with the process, thereafter there were no failures. During the day it was alchemy, and during the night it was cultivation. Chen Shang was harvesting the true Qi incomparably quickly. Every day he was able to refine the low-grade spirit-level true Qi Dan 10 times, with a total of 50 Dans. In the evening, after eating the Dans, he cultivated and continued to compress a large amount of true Qi that was brought about by the true Qi Dan. Time flew by so fast, and in blink of an eye 3 months had passed. Although Chen Shang was repeating the same routine every day, but with the two peerless beauties as his companions, he didn't get bored. Now Chen Shang had already congealed out 4 true Qi forms: the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, black tortoise. These 4 divine beasts inside his dantian appeared to be fuzzy, and although he had not actually seen these 4 divine beasts, nevertheless, after cultivating accordingly to those 2 divine exercises, he was mystically able to mold out the divine beasts' forms, which secretly amazed him. Chen Shang was now 17-year-old, and he was now going to impact on the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. Only after congealing the last true Qi form, would he be able to successfully advance into this new stage. If Chen Shang had not cultivated in this special way, he would have already entered the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, as he had to cultivate several times more when compared to other people. At the center of the Tai Chi Yin and Yang diagram within Chen Zhang's dantian, there was a ball full of earth true Qi, but currently it was absorbing a massive amount of pure true Qi, and rapidly growing. Moreover, at the same time it was also being compressed, and gradually a form was appearing out of it. This form was that of an elephant, which suppressed the yin and yang diagram at the center. Spirit Qi from all around this mountain valley was madly surging into this mountain valley, and therein madly absorbed by Chen Shang. That elephant form had slowly been taking shape, and now Chen Shang, with his huge divine sense, was establishing contact with these 5 beast forms, integrating them into one form. I've succeeded, Chen Shang shouted loudly, and suddenly invisible Qi undulations burst out from his body. This was the universal true Qi, and whenever he wished, he can arbitrarily integrate 5 elements of true Qi into one body and release the universal force. Chen Shang, using the congealed embryonic stage 5 divine beasts forms, compressed a large amount of true Qi, then once again using the invisible true Qi congealed out universal true Qi, and destroyed the big door of the 9th level mortal martial realm. Chen Shang at just 17 years of age, entered the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. Chapter 74, Entrance Fee. Chapter 74, Entrance Fee. Chen Shang, as he watched those 5 divine beast forms be molded out by compressing a large amount of true Qi in his dantian, could not help but sigh because of all of that boundless true Qi. Common 10th level mortal martial realm experts were not his match. As for true martial realm martial artists, as he has not seen or fought them yet, so he couldn't draw any conclusions. Good brother, your imposing manner is comparable to what mine was in the past. Su Meiyao nodded her head in satisfaction, her face filled with a charming smile. Chen Shang proudly smiled. 2 sisters, now can I go to the extreme martial sect? Perhaps I can also get you some brand new clothes. Little rascal, you really know how to make us happy, said Su Meiyao with a soft snort. You can, but you still have to be a little cautious. Inside these martial sects there are hidden dragons and crouching tigers, and in their eyes, with this little bit of strength, you're still an ant. Bai Yuyu cautioned. Although she and Su Meiyao were only active in this herbal garden, they still felt very happy. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu entered the ring. Chen Shang walked out from the herbal garden and arrived at the inside of a mountain valley, his body shook a little while a pair of fire wings emerged from his back. Chen Shang took a fierce leap, jumping several tens of jong high in the air. The pair of vermilion bird fire wings behind his back flapped, making him soar in the sky. As he flew deeper and deeper into the forest, the spirit Qi became richer and richer, and this caused Chen Shang to be surprised, as he knew that the martial arts sect were located in a place with very rich spirit Qi, but he wasn't aware of how rich the spirit Qi was. Now that he had personally experienced this rich amount of spirit Qi, he understood why so many people yearned to join these martial arts sects. It is similar to paradise here. Said this while looking over the cliff of a high mountain. A giant river was flowing nearby, and there were numerous singing birds in that lush green forest below that was rich with spirit Qi. In this side of the world, martial arts sects have the strongest influence. Of course, next to martial arts sect there are numerous families and empires who have similar influence. However, here there are also ordinary people who cannot practice martial arts, and these people are not few in number. Said Su Meiyao. As Su Meiyao spoke, Chen Shang stood in awe of how big and strange the world was. Martial arts sects here have an ancient inheritance, meaning they were formed around various styles created by martial artists a long, long time ago. As time passed, these martial arts sects started to develop and became even larger. As more and more people joined, they exploited more and more abundant resources. As a result, strong experts were as common as clouds here. While flying, Chen Shang suddenly heard a sound of disturbance below. He went down, only to see a person fighting a giant bull whose entire body was wrapped in flames. This was the demon beast, a kind of species who knew how to absorb spirit Qi between heaven and earth. These beasts had innate spiritual veins, and it didn't matter whether their strength was strong or weak, every part of their body could be considered a treasure. Chen Shang dived down and landed next to the intense battlefield, and that flaming bull was unexpectedly fighting a seemingly 18 to 19 years old fat teenager, whose appearance was quite matching. His appearance was similar to that of an expert bully. At this moment the fat teenager wrinkled his brow, his face was looking serious while dealing with the flaming bull at the other end. His strength was not bad, as he cultivated metal true chi, and his martial skill was also looking good. When he punched out, he played out his entire true chi. "Brother, do you need any help?" Chen Shang, who was now standing close by, asked. He could see that the fat teenager's foundation was not weak, and he guessed that he should be in the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. "Elder brother, I fought most of the fight and now you appear. You say you want to help me, yet I bet you just want to steal my catch. Not worth it." That fatty's reply made Chen Shang vomit blood. Unexpectedly this fatty was haggling over this. "I simply do not need the reward, I just want to take a look at how formidable this demon beast is," Chen Shang said with a smile. "That's not okay, so be it, I'll give you the bull's leg," the fatty said, and to Chen Zhang's surprise this fatty was so principled. "Good." Chen Shang while speaking, took a step and in the blink of an eye, arrived behind the flaming bull. Chen Zhang's fist was starting to get wrapped in a golden aura of slaughter chi which was surging out, thereafter forming a golden white tiger head. Chen Shang used White Tiger's storm-killing fist but also used Metal White Tiger True Chi. His fist struck the thick body of that flaming bull, emitted a thunderous sound, and his golden aura flashed and blasted a bloody hole through the thick skin of flaming bull, which made the fatty astonished. "Elder brother, what type of fist attack did you use just now? It was so overbearing," fatty asked with surprise. At the same a fist struck over the bull's head, and a fearsome chi aura burst out which even shook the air. The flaming bull emitted a heavy roar. While the flaming bull was angry, Chen Shang took advantage of this opportunity and let a rain of blows strike on the fat body of that flaming bull. In the blink of an eye, he had punched out tens of fearsome and tyrannical heavenly tiger storm-killing fists, and a strong chi aura passed through the bull's thick skin, shaking the internal organs of the flaming bull. The angry flaming bull immediately vomited a mouthful of blood, and then that bull was no longer able to use its strength. At this time, that fatty clasped his fists together, and held them high above his head, looking similar to a giant hammer. His fists fell towards the bull's head, and vigorous metal true chi transformed into a chi aura wrapped around his fists. In the blink of an eye with thunderous sounds accompanied with chi waves flying in all directions, the bull was killed. "Brother's fist technique is not bad," Chen Shang said while praising, as he calculated the strength of this martial artist, and at such young age he was so amazing. That fatty smiled. "I am called Zhu Rong, what's the honorable name of elder brother?" "Chen Shang, I'm only 17, and Zhu brother called me elder brother Lao Gay, you called me old Lao, but I'm younger than you." Chen Shang smiled, cupping his fists as he spoke. He did have an air about him that made others think he was more mature than his physical age. Zhu Rong grinned. "It seems I really called you old, hee, but I also suffered a loss. Regarding this, let's start from a clean slate. I guess I should call you younger brother. You're 2 years younger than me and already so amazing. You must certainly be from some famous family, but I do not know what family that is." TLN. Okay, so maybe it is little bit confusing, but here's some insight. Here Zhu Rong called Chen Shang Laoge, and Chen Shang is only 17 and he is 19 years old, and hence the intended pun. Laoge Lao Gay, affectionate form of address for a male who is not older than oneself. Laodi Lao Di, affectionate form of address for a male who is not very much younger than oneself. Lao, old. Chen Shang guessed Zhu Rong's family must do business, otherwise every time he opened his mouth he wouldn't have talked about transactions. "I came from that side secular world," Chen Shang truthfully said. Zhu Rong was starting to deal with that body of the flaming bull, and chopped down a leg for Chen Shang, but also intentionally cut too small, which even made Chen Shang somewhat dumbfounded. "So do you want to enter the extreme martial sect?" Zhu Rong asked, the other end of that flaming bull entirely received in the storage pouch. Zhu brother, are you a extreme martial sect's disciple?" Chen Shang asked rhetorically. Zhu Rong followed behind him. "Luckily I became a extreme martial sect's disciple, and although your strength is pretty good, but you cannot enter the extreme martial sect," said Zhu Rong while looking proudly. "Why?" Chen Shang asked curiously. "Because you do not have a family behind you, and you should know that the extreme martial sect is different from other sects, and while all other sects receive their disciples, they provide the best welfare for those disciples. While the extreme martial sect charges fees while receiving disciples." Zhu Rong said this point, and his face was full of contempt, as one could see that he very much fancied money. Chen Shang had already heard of this thing before, that's why Su Meiyao made him take out metal spirit fruit for Lang Yulan. You mean to say I cannot afford to enter extreme martial sect? Chen Shang asked. Chapter 75, Extreme Martial Province. Chapter 75, Extreme Martial Province. Chen Shang examined Zhu Rong from top to bottom. Although his appearance was a little bit mature, he was wearing very ordinary clothes. His clothing lacked any kind of visible ornaments, resulting in a very poor visage. Do you know how much the extreme martial sect charges? Just the cost for a year will make you retreat in defeat. Zhu Rong pursed his lips as he spoke, but suddenly he heard a "kacha" sound, as if someone was biting a fruit. Zhu Rong was a connoisseur of fine foods and he immediately turned his head, only to see Chen Shang holding a purple fruit, taking a bite one after another, even going as far as spitting out some of the peel. Zhu Rong was stunned for a moment, then immediately shouted, "Idiot, are you using purple spirit fruit for such thing? Quickly stop eating. Fuck your mom. Those peels are extremely valuable and you're actually spitting them." Purple spirit fruit was the main herb for refining true qi dan. To just consume the fruit was simply an extravagant waste. Upon seeing this, Zhu Rong could not wait to seize it from Chen Zhang's hands. In his opinion, to just directly eat the purple spirit fruit was simply a blasphemy. Chen Shang's facial expression remained indifferent. This purple spirit fruit is very tasty, and sweet too. There is even rich true qi released after eating it. The gluttonous Zhu Rong turned dark red as he boiled in anger. Although the purple spirit fruit was not his, watching it being eaten in such a way caused him to have a heartache. "Stop eating it, I'll buy the purple spirit fruit," Zhu Rong quickly shouted, but just before he finished speaking, Chen Shang swallowed the rest of the 2/3 of the fruit. Zhu Rong boiled as he felt an urge to rush over and shatter Chen Zhang's chin. "How much does it cost to enter extreme martial sect for a year?" Chen Shang asked while smiling. Zhu Rong stamped his foot as he snorted with anger, Your type will never enter the extreme martial sect." Although he did not Chen Zhang's identity, he was very certain that he was extremely rich, otherwise he would not dare to eat purple spirit fruit so casually. "Forget that I even asked," Chen Shang said as he took out another purple spirit fruit to consume. "Outer sect disciples need to pay 3,000 middle-grade crystal stone for a year," Zhu Rong quickly said, then took out a few finger-head-size blue stone, and gave to Chen Shang. "Here, 10 middle-grade crystal stones for your purple spirit fruit." Crystal stones and spirit coins were similar. They both were a kind of ore that contained spirit qi. However, the pure spirit qi compressed inside a crystal stone was much greater compared to a spirit coin. Chen Shang had learned from Su Meiyao that on this side of world, middle-grade crystal stones were the main currency used for trading, and a middle-grade crystal stone was equivalent to 1,000 large spirit coins. That is to say, 10 middle-grade crystal coins were worth only 10,000 large spirit coins. "Zhu brother, do you think I am a pig? This is the main ingredient for refining true qi dan. Do you think its value is only worth this much? I might as well simply eat it," Chen Shang said while pursing his lips. 30, said Zhu Rong with a deadpan look. Chen Shang shook his head, and started walking towards the front. Zhu Rong was quick to follow. He shouted, 50. Chen Shang ignored him completely. 60, 100, 150, quote. 200. Chen Shang turned around, and said with a smile, "Just a moment ago you wanted it to buy for only 10 crystal stones, but now, compared to a moment ago, the price is many, many times greater. You definitely are a racketeer." Chen Shang handed the purple spirit fruit over, as he received a pool of crystal stones in return. "Don't you know, my Zhu family is famous in extreme martial province for doing business. We will even fight for a coin if it fell in front of us. There is no way we would leave it alone," Zhu Rong honestly said as he looked at the fruit. Purple spirit fruit prices in extreme martial province are extremely inflated, because its prices have been raised by the merchants. Chen Shang suddenly felt that he may have made a loss in the transaction, but 200,000 large spirit coins was also his bottom line. Although Zhu Rong was only a small racketeer, Chen Shang talked very congenially to him since Chen Shang now had a more thorough understanding of this side of world. The region he was in was called the Extreme Martial Province, a large piece of land under the jurisdiction of Extreme Martial Sect. It was very vast and all the different powers in this region had to pay tribute to the Extreme Martial Sect, and in turn the Extreme Martial Sect would guaranteed safeguard. Junior brother Chen, in the future, do not eat the purple spirit fruit like an idiot. If you were seen by those alchemists, you will certainly be beaten by every one of them," Zhu Rong said urgingly. As he thought of Chen Shang eating a moment ago, his heart was secretly in pain. For Chen Shang it does not matter, as long he had dragon saliva exercise he could quickly create purple spirit fruits if he ever ran out. Zhu Lao, you said is it possible for me to enter extreme martial sect right now? Chen Shang said with a laugh. Zhu Rong with a sinister smile said, sell me 10 purple spirit fruit and it will be possible, but you have to go through extreme martial sect assessment to be able to genuinely enter, this is every sect's criteria. Chen Shang followed Zhu Rong and came to a city. This city was called Tianmen City, and from here, the extreme martial sect was not very far away. Quite often, many people who wanted to join the extreme martial sect would stay here. Arriving there, Zhu Rong and Chen Shang bid each other farewell. Zhu Rong said he must return, because unqualified people were not allowed to enter extreme martial sect at will. Heavenly Gate, this is the entrance to extreme martial sect. Chen Shang stood next to the city gate, looking at the bold and powerful characters. TLN. Tianmen is written on the city gate, Chen Shang was reading out loud. As long as one walked across the city, one would be able to see a straight avenue. At the end of this avenue, there was a huge luxurious building that was comparable to a city. That was the extreme martial sect. Little brother, this is a level 6 ordinary grade weapon. Discount price, only 999 crystal stones. One fellow standing at a store entrance shouted as he waved towards Chen Shang. Just like Chen Shang, there were also many other people who were looking around after having entered the city. Many of them were country hicks who had entered the city for the first time, and were most likely to be deceived. Weapons and armors could be divided into ordinary, spirit, and brilliant grade weapons. Each grade was further divided into 9 levels. Ordinary grade weapons were the lowest ranked, and no matter what suitable material was used for forging, they were the most common materials. But a level 6 ordinary G-grade weapon was also considered to be not bad, and was close to an ordinary weapon of the 9th level. Little brother, want to buy some pills? A high-grade mortal level Grand Elemental Dan can be purchased for just 55 crystal stones, 2DQNS will only cost you a 100 crystal stones. An old man from a medicine shop shouted. Chen Shang observed that within this extreme martial province, Dan stores were located in almost every nook and corner of extreme martial province. He could not help but be somewhat surprised. He went over and asked, do you have a purple spirit fruit? Of course I have it, only for 300 crystal stones. That old shopkeeper answered. Chen Zhang's mouth twitched slightly. He had really been fooled by that fatty, and that fatty in the start actually wanted to buy with 10 crystal stones. This time Chen Shang also knew that here at this side of the world, Dans were rather expensive, much more expensive than that they were in the Southern Martial Empire. This was a good thing for him, because he was an alchemist. He was now already able to see many white shining crystal stone, and he also found out that one true Qi Dan costs 500 crystal stones here, moreover they were also a limited purchase. Chen Shang strolled around in this Tianmen city and sold a few true Qi Dans, and soon collected as much as 3,000 crystal stones, which was also the entrance fee for the extreme martial sect. Although he had Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu's inheritance, but after entering a sect he could learn more things, learn more martial skills, also with the identity of a sect's disciple, he could participate in all kinds of competitions, where the winner was also rewarded by the sect. Chen Shang walked towards the giant door in the distance. As the giant door was opened, many people came out. These few days the extreme martial sect had opened their mountain entrance to recruit disciples, so many people came here to enter the sect, but the majority of these people were here to try their luck. Chen Shang passed through that giant door, walked on a straight and spacious bricked avenue. In the distance, extreme martial sect was surrounded by a 20 or so jong high wall. Chen Shang also had believed previously that the extreme martial sect was built on top of a mountain. Chen Shang stood in front of that huge entrance, watching, extreme martial sect heavenly gate, these 3 imposing characters, in his heart could not help but upwell a heroic spirit. That giant door was still closed, but a small door was opened. In front of that small door was a very long queue, whose spiritual veins were being examined, only those who had a spiritual vein were qualified. Of course, if there was not enough crystal stones then it was also not acceptable. The spiritual vein was examined by standing on top of a circular disc. On the disc there was an array, which could detect the spiritual vein within the human body, then different kinds of aura would be illuminated, along with it, the corresponding value would appear. Chapter 76. Avenge personal enmity in the name of public interest. Chapter 76. Avenge personal enmity in the name of public interest. Although many people had spiritual veins, but most of them were unqualified, and only someone with a value above 60 will be qualified. Chen Shang, who was lined up for half day, had only seen 2 people to qualify. Chen Shang, when you're assessed, you must converge metal, wood, water, earth attributes using Tai Chi divine exercise, so at that time that array will only detect your fire attribute, and will show that you have fire attribute spiritual vein. Su Meiyao said seriously, as she couldn't allow other people to know that Chen Shang had a yin and yang divine vein. This was a very dangerous matter. Chen Zhang's turn arrived, and when Chen Shang stood on the disc, he did it in accordance with what Su Meiyao said and converged the metal, wood, water, earth attributes. In doing so, below his feet on that disc only a red aura emerged, and a strange feeling appeared in his body, while one value also appeared in the middle of that disc. Fire attribute spiritual vein, 75, qualified, what's your name? One middle-aged man asked, and though Chen Shang had passed, but looking at Chen Shang whose complexion was not good, his face fell. Just a moment ago Chen Shang saw not a small number of extreme martial sects disciples being respectful towards this middle-aged man, and looking at this one could know that this middle-aged man had some status in the extreme martial sect's outer sect. Strength was also very powerful, and Chen Shang suspected that this middle-aged man must be a true martial realm martial artist. Chen Shang. Chen Zhang's words made that middle-aged man to be surprised for a moment, and Chen Shang felt a little strange, as he did not expect his name would spread to the extreme martial sect. You came from the secular world? That middle-aged man coldly asked. Yes. After hearing Chen Zhang's word, all the people around him gave a bizarre look, because people who came from the secular world were generally old men, and someone so young was very rare. Please go back, you've done all kinds of evil in the secular world, we do not accept these kind of people in the extreme martial sect. That middle-aged man sneered, his face full of hatred. What do you mean? Chen Shang asked with a frown. When you were inside the secular world, you slaughtered one family, and also eliminated one gang called the Black Wind Gang. You've killed at least more than 1,000 people, and we of the extreme martial sect don't receive this kind of slaughtering human devil. The middle-aged man's voice became louder, and this made the people all around more surprised, even to kill more than 1,000 people. Chen Shang said with a sneer, if someone came to kill you, would you not fight back? Are you going to stand there and allow them to kill you? Not only did that family act against me again and again, but they also colluded with the gang to assassinate me. If I did not kill them, they were going to destroy my family. Everything that happened because they asked for it. In Southern Martial Empire, most people know it, so you must not have not investigated clearly, right? That middle-aged man's face turned gloomy, and this time Chen Shang once again said, are you that Yao family member? Humph, do you want to use the power in your hands to avenge personal enmity in the name of public interest? Yao Haisheng, regarding this you're wrong, the other person's spiritual vein is obviously qualified, and we have also heard the things about the secular world, indeed your family was wrong, always wanting to exterminate others but were destroyed in the end. That is also a matter of course. One amiable-looking, smiling middle-aged man with a long beard arrived, and behind him was actually that Zhu Rong. Chen Shang had guessed correctly, as that middle-aged man who making things difficult for him just a moment ago, was actually a Yao family member. Since he was Yao family member, then he must be an alchemist, as Chen Shang could sense the pure fire true qi from his body, and ordinarily only alchemists were very focused on fire true qi purity. Yao Haisheng gave a disgusted look to that bearded middle-aged man, and unenthusiastically said, Hao Dongqing, I manage the things around here, my words counts. Chen Shang in his heart was secretly surprised, that bearded man, Hao Dongqing, unexpectedly was also a true martial realm expert. Chen Shang hadn't expected to meet two true martial realm martial artists in one day. Moreover, the strength of the true martial realm was more than what he had imagined. He was very clear that he was absolutely unable to defeat these true martial realm martial artists. Brat, also not getting out of here, is it that you want my teacher to personally send you? One arrogant man from behind Yao Haisheng loudly reprimanded. Hao Dongqing faintly smiled. He cannot leave, as today many people are witnessing this matter. If he leaves, it will be bad for the extreme martial sect's reputation. Chen Shang knew Hao Dongqing was helping him, so he laughed and said, the extreme martial sect is Chenwu mainland's strongest martial arts sect. I think it should be fair and impartial. Yao Haisheng was bent on Chen Shang not entering the extreme martial sect, so he coldly said, Chen Shang, you're very young, and your strength is also good, but you now need to hone your character, as your disposition is too easy to stir up trouble. Furthermore, your strength in the extreme martial sect here does not simply account for anything. If you enter the extreme martial sect, it will invite only trouble. Please go back. I have the authority to investigate various aspects of one entering the sect and becoming a disciple. Though your spiritual vein is qualified, but in regards to your disposition and strength you're not qualified. Come back after 3 to 5 years, and maybe you'll be able to qualify then. The extreme martial sect's gate is always open for you. Yao Haisheng do not want to destroy the extreme martial sect's reputation, as although he was a true martial realm martial artist, but if he were to commit a mistake, he would be equally punished. Within 5 years, as long as you defeat my apprentice Fang Liang, you can enter the extreme martial sect, and furthermore you don't have to pay a single dime. So you better go back and cultivate. Yao Haisheng contemptuously said, while behind him that arrogant man with one eye also stared at Chen Shang. Chen Shang asked, you said if I defeat your apprentice Fang Liang within 5 years, then after that I can enter extreme martial sect and I'll be also exempted of all fees. Is this true? Yao Haisheng's sinister laughter resounded, and said, of course, you came from my hometown, and this is me giving you favorable treatment, but if you cannot win in 5 years, then you can never enter the extreme martial sect. Fang Liang, is he that Fang family's genius, currently 18 years old, and already entered the 9th level of the mortal martial realm? Moreover, he also has many profound level martial skills, and last I heard he fought the 9th grade demon beast, the Fire Red Falcon. In the end the Fire Red Falcon was struck and died on a mountain top, and it is said that he is also ranked 13th in all the outer sect disciples. Fang Liang heard some commenting about him, and he became prouder, and his face was completely full of a proud look. Yao Haisheng was also similarly proud, because he was Fang Liang's teacher. Brat, you do not even have a teeny tiny bit chance in 100 years. Because within 5 years I will certainly enter the true martial realm, and you'll forever not have the chance to defeat me. Fang Liang loudly said, his arrogance was soaring in the sky, as within 5 years he would certainly enter the true martial realm. This made many people, one after another, to be shocked, as such a young true martial realm martial artist was very rare. Within 5 years if I win against Fang Liang, I really can enter the extreme martial sect for free. Chen Shang asked again, as this kind of thing was better to be confirmed, because to him it seemed very easy. Before he had heard to enter the extreme martial sect's outer sect, he had to go through a series of complex assessments. So many people are listening here, do you think he'll lie to you? Within 5 years you can come whenever you want and challenge him. Now quickly go, you're making many people who want to test their spiritual vein wait. Yao Haisheng impatiently waved his hand, driving away Chen Shang. You said within 5 years I can come whenever I want and challenge him. This is what you said. Chen Shang grinned, and said, I want to compete with him today. Chapter 77, Asking for Trouble. Chapter 77 Asking for Trouble. What? Chen Shang wanted to compete with the genius Fang Ling today. This made many people surprised, but Yao Haisheng and Fang Liang were also shocked. Just a moment ago Hong Dongqing also helped Chen Shang because he was very interested in watching what was about to happen. Zhu Rong, however, secretly despised Chen Shang, because he had just found out that Chen Shang was an alchemist, and previously, when he had first met him, Chen Shang had portrayed himself in a much more low-profile manner. Ha! Quit joking and quickly leave, lest you get injured. During a competition it is difficult to control one's strength, if you get wounded, it will certainly slow you down. Come back after a few years of cultivation. Yao Haisheng waved his hand and said. How the Yao family was eliminated was not very clear, he only knew that Chen Shang was the cause of this incident. He speculated Chen Shang's strength might be equivalent to the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, but in his opinion, the difference between a secular 9th level of the mortal martial realm and an extreme martial sect 9th level of the mortal martial realm was like heaven and earth. If people want to fight, they should go ahead and fight. Hong Dongqing said, he glanced and smiled at Chen Shang. Concerning this fight, I'll be able to waste him in just one move. Fang Liang had a look of impatience. Chen Shang didn't even expect there to be Yao family members in the extreme martial sect, furthermore, they were also in the true martial realm. Fortunately, there were some rules in the sects. People from this side of the world are not allowed to cause trouble in the secular world. The people standing in line for assessment all spread out, although their assessment is delayed by this battle, they looked forward to watching a good fight as they get to see Fang Liang fight. The crowd looked forward to seeing the strength of the outer sect's number 13. Forewarned, if you're injured, you cannot blame the other, blame yourself for being a waste. Fang Liang loudly said. Chen Shang nodded his head and said, if you are seriously injured, it is your own fault and cannot be blamed on the other. Correct, do not talk nonsense, let's go. Fang Liang with a look of irritability, took a step forward, only to hear Yao Haisheng shout, start. Fang Liang was the first to act, and he began running, each step exploding outward with lightning, like he was running on lighting. He moved very quickly, and both of his fists were also wrapped in white lightning. This was pure lightning true qi. Chen Zhang's lightning true qi contained the wood attribute inside and was different from pure lightning. High-grade profound level treading lightning steps running will result in massive impact force. This fist art is the high-grade profound level shocking lightning fist, and from what I have heard, with this fist art, one can split a small mountain. Its power is enormous, said one well-informed martial artist. Chen Shang originally was a lightning expert, and when he started to cultivate wood true qi, he also often incited lightning to temper his body. He was struck by violent, natural lighting, but he was still able to bear it. As of now, lightning did not pose any threat to him, not to mention the fact that his body was also very formidable. Everyone believed that when Chen Shang was struck by the shocking lightning fist, a bloody hole would be left. The crowd braced themselves, in order to resist the explosion from the lightning true qi. However, they were all amazed, because what they envisioned didn't occur. Fang Liang jumped out, his momentum increased by the lighting at his feet, and at the same time, also punched out a powerful, shocking lightning fist striking towards Chen Zhang's chest, but when his fists came in contact with Chen Zhang's chest, it felt similar to stone sinking in the sea. He didn't get a bit of response. Because, in that moment, Chen Shang operated Tai Chi divine exercise and his body was truly like a giant vortex, in which any kind of power striking it would, in the end, be sucked in by the vortex. Chen Shang guided the lightning to temper his body, he does frequently, and that was also why his lightning true qi cultivation was better. Extreme martial sect, I'll definitely enter it. Chen Shang laughed as he spoke. His fist blasted towards Fang Liang, who was still dazed, and a massive amount of flames surged from his fist, similar to a volcano erupting. In the blink of an eye, Fang Liang was embroiled in flames and sent flying by the momentum of Chen Zhang's fist. His whole body was quickly incinerated by that intense fire, and he was rolling on the ground howling. Fang Liang, Yao Haisheng shouted with dismay and hastily flew towards him. He waved his sleeve and the flames were immediately dispersed. Fang Liang was burnt black from top to bottom. It was obvious he was severely injured, as the meridians within his body were also burnt. Though it was quite hot, all those who were watching felt their bodies drenched in cold sweat. A simple fist attack defeated the 13th outer sect disciple of the extreme martial sect. When everyone thought about how Fang Liang previously looked down upon Chen Shang, they were struck by the humor of the situation. I won, now is it possible for me to enter extreme martial sect? Furthermore, I won't even have to pay crystal stones. Chen Shang grinned. Yao Haisheng was furious, just as he wanted to say something, but he saw Hao Dongqing speaking with a smile. Yao Haisheng, previously this precious disciple of yours said, if during the competition gets hurt, that is their own matter, and he was not going to blame the other. Is it that you want to destroy your apprentice's promise? Also, you said Chen Shang can enter the extreme martial sect. Moreover, he does not need to pay the other expenses, these crystal stones must come from you because you made him a promise. Chen Shang said with a laugh, Senior brother Yao, you're really going to pay the crystal stones for me? I'm really grateful. Yao Haisheng's face fiercely twitched. In his mind, Chen Shang was only an ant and with just a pat of his palm Chen Shang would be dead, but if he did so his good days would come to an end because the rules of the extreme martial sect were very strict. I'll remember this. Yao Haisheng picked up the burnt body of Fang Liang and entered the extreme martial sect inside, and at this time the person responsible for assessment was also changed. Chen Junior brother, welcome to extreme martial sect, come with me, I'll take you to complete the formalities. Zhu Rong, that little fatty, shouted, and while watching Chen Shang the expression in his eyes were as if he was looking at a lot of crystal stones. Chen Shang laughed and walked past. Many thanks, Senior brother Hao, otherwise, I would have been driven away by him. I just said a few words, that's as not counted any help, but saw this guy digging few fiery pits for himself and his apprentice to jump into, and I was truly laughing to death. Of course, you also pushed them into the fiery pit that they dug with their own hands. Hao Dongqing's laughter resounded as he turned around and left. Little fatty, how is Senior brother Hao related to you? Is he your teacher? Chen Shang, following behind Zhu Rong, asked in a low voice. To have a true martial realm martial artist as a teacher, that was also a very good thing. He is my uncle. By the way, you actually knew alchemy and also wasted a purple spirit fruit, you idiot. You really like to show off. Zhu Rong, thinking about Chen Shang eating the purple spirit fruit, his heart could not help but feel slightly sore. Chen Shang scoffingly said, "You treacherous fatty, in the beginning, you wanted to buy my purple spirit fruit for just 10 crystal stones. Just a moment ago I asked other people and they are selling it for 300 crystal stones, you bought it from me for 200 crystal stones, you cheated me." Zhu Rong curled his lips and said, "That is the price we agreed to, I did not force you." Chapter 78, 3000 Martial Courtyard. Chapter 78, 3000 Martial Courtyard. Do you have a sister? Are they also formidable like you? Introduce them to me, Zhu Rong hastily asked, his eyes lighting up. Go fuck your sister. Even if I had a sister I wouldn't introduce her to you, said Chen Shang with disdain. Now that he had entered the sect, he wanted to find Lang Yulin, his stepsister. He was now her brother and as a brother, he wanted to take good care of her. Zhu Rong snorted in a low voice, "Do not look at me like this. Many girls who came for this entrance test throw themselves on me. This daddy is the Zhu family's great young master, and also an inner sect disciple of the extreme martial sect." Chen Shang was surprised by the fact that Zhu Rong was an inner sect disciple. He had heard that only someone of the 10th level of the mortal martial realm could enter the inner sect. Zhu Lao, in the past few months have you heard about a white-haired girl coming to the extreme martial sect for the assessment? Chen Shang asked. I remember, I'll never forget her. Zhu Rong immediately said, his complexion turned serious, this girl was very extraordinary. She actually had a fire and ice dual vein. Furthermore they seemed to be heaven veins. She wanted to enter the extreme martial sect, but other people took her away. What? Chen Shang was very surprised, he had not expected that Lang Yulin would have Tian veins, moreover be taken by another sect. If it was a devil path sect, wouldn't that be bad? Rest assured, she was taken by the people of Icewind Valley, that place is more suitable for her. She should not be your unrequited love, right? Relying on your talent, you do not even deserve her shoes. Zhu Rong contemptuously looked at Chen Shang. He knew Lang Yulin came from the secular world, only then would he think like this. Chen Shang sighed and said, she is my sister, sworn stepsister. You're joking, how can you have that immortal-like character as a sworn sister? If she was your sister, then Shui Shenxian of the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire is also my sister. Zhu Rong loudly shouted, as he could not accept this fact. Chen Shang had also not thought that Shui Shenxian was actually so famous. His sighing sound was heard once again, Shui Shenxian is my fiancé. Fuck you, this bastard is cracking jokes now. You should be careful what you say, otherwise you may be beaten flat by those who have a crush on Shui Shenxian, so do not blame me or say that I did not warn you. Shui Shenxian and Lang Yulin are but recognized as the strongest women among the younger generation. In our hearts, they are like fairies, if you violate or offend them again, I'll beat you up. Zhu Rong angrily said. Chen Shang shook his head and sighed, while in his heart he said, Shenxian is really my fiancé and Yulin is really my stepsister. Zhu Rong with Chen Shang came to one large courtyard, and inside this courtyard many people were comparing notes with each other. They were not using true qi, and they were only using their physical strength, but their attacks were still unusually strong. This is the 330th martial courtyard. The smaller their numeral digit, the stronger it is. The 330th martial courtyard is the strongest martial courtyard in the outer sect, and as you defeated that Fang Liang guy, this is the most appropriate place for you. Zhu Rong said. Everyone in this martial courtyard suddenly quieted down, because they had also heard the information about Fang Liang being defeated. Fang Liang was the 13th ranked disciple in the outer sect, and was unexpectedly defeated by a newcomer. This was but explosive information in the outer sect. Everyone looked carefully at Chen Shang. Everyone here were very able-bodied, and the youngest was about 20 years old, while the eldest was about 50 to 60 years old. A total of 50 people, and this was the strongest martial courtyard in the outer sect. In other words, the strongest disciples in the outer sect were also in here. Old man Zhang, this brat will be handed over to you. Zhu Rong said to one old man. Although he looked like a fat meatball, Zhu Rong was still an inner sect disciple, so even the strongest disciples of the outer sect were full of respect when they see him. Younger brother Chen, try hard to enter the inner martial courtyard earlier, and do not die in the outer martial courtyard. Zhu Rong patted Chen Zhang's shoulder, and sped away. When the disciple of this martial courtyard saw Chen Shang and Zhu Rong have such a good relationship, they could not help but feel a little uncertain. They definitely tried to guess which family Chen Shang came from. Junior brother Chen Shang, about the matter of you defeating Fang Liang, I've also heard. Please come with me, that old man Zhang said. Chen Shang followed behind him, leaving the sight of those outer sect disciples in this martial courtyard, and at this time these disciples also started discussing. That old man Zhang was called Zhangde. He was 70 years old and was at the 10th level of the mortal martial realm, but had failed to enter inner sect, because he had stayed in the extreme martial sect for too long, so he just passes off as this courtyard's chief. In other words, he was the strongest person in the 330th martial courtyard. Zhangde was a very good person, always having a gentle smile on his face, and was very considerate towards others, which made Chen Shang have a very favorable impression of him. Senior brother Zhang, is it really hard to enter the inner martial courtyard? Chen Shang asked. Difficult as ascending heaven. It has already been 15 years since I entered the 10th level of the mortal martial realm, and participated in 15 assessments, but in all assessments I have never passed. Zhangde said with a long sigh, as he handed Chen Shang a storage pouch. This is the Extreme Martial Sect's uniform, identity card, and some introductory books about the Extreme Martial Sect in this world. To enter the inner sect, one must pass through an assessment. This was not like what Chen Shang had previously heard. One must be in the 10th level of the mortal martial realm to enter the inner sect. It seemed that the extreme martial sect was very strict. Chen Shang once again followed Zhangde for a long time and then arrived at his own house. This was but a small residence, only suitable for one person, but Chen Shang was very satisfied. Junior brother Chen, this is the strongest outer sect's martial courtyard, which only had 50 people. That's why we have this kind of treatment, so you have to carefully keep this position. I'll leave now, so you should familiarize with this environment first. After Zhangde left, Chen Shang opened those books and started understanding more about the extreme martial sect. The 8 major righteous sects are divided into the extreme martial sect Tai Wu Men, the divine weapons heavenly empire Xian Bing Tian Guo, the Danxiang Tao Yuan Danshang Dao Yuan, the Icewind Valley Bing Feng Gu, the beast martial sect Shou Wu Men, the proud sword sect Ao Jian Zong, the true martial sect Zhen Wu Men, and the Lotus Island Lian Hua Dao. The 5 great devil sects are divided into the Devil Yang Clan Mo Yang Zong, the myriad Snake Valley Wan She Gu, the blood refining clan Shui Lian Zong, the 100 poison sect Bai Du Men, and the transforming bone clan Hua Gu Men. Every major righteous sect commands one province each, while the 5 great devil sects are gathered in one large province, called the Chenwu 9 Province Shean Wu Ju Zhou. Chen Shang read through the introductory book. Although Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu had once told him about the world, there were many more details written in this book. After reading it, Chen Shang lamented, saying, "This is just the Chenwu continent, and it is already so big, and in addition to this, outside the seas there are other continents. This is not the end. We are in this mortal world, which is the lowest level world, generally called a mortal martial world. There are hundreds of thousands of them. Each one has countless mainlands." Bai Yuyu said with disdain. Above mortal martial world is the heaven martial world, of which there are a couple dozen. The martial artists in that world are equivalent to immortal-like existences, their powers are much stronger. Su Meiyao continued after Bai Yuyu. Chen Shang swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He suddenly felt like he was a grain of sand in a huge world. He shook his head, he did not want to go down. The extreme martial sect has a total of 3,000 martial courtyards, 330th to 3,000th martial courtyards are outer martial courtyards. 16th 329th martial courtyards are the inner martial courtyards, and the first 15th martial courtyards are core disciples martial courtyard. They are also the most powerful force in the extreme martial sect. Above the 3,000 martial courtyard there is 10th martial courtyard, and that is the elder courtyard, a group thousands of years old Kajers live in it. The extreme martial sect's dean is the 0th martial courtyard's chief. Chen Shang continued to look at the introduction of the extreme martial sect. Chapter 79. Outer Martial Courtyard. Chapter 79 Outer Martial Courtyard. There were many outer sect disciples, however, the inner sect disciples' count took a dive, and the core disciples were even meager to count. Besides, there were only 15 core disciple martial courtyards. Usually, all core disciples were above the true martial realm. As long as you have enough strength, you can not only enter the elder courtyard but can also sit on the 0th martial courtyard's chief's position. That is if you can defeat the dean. Hearing this, Chen Shang had a kind of a whimsical idea, which was to get that 0th martial courtyard's chief's position. Of course, it was just an idea, as it should be known that these dean-level characters had been living for hundreds of years and were somewhat like old monsters. The 0th martial courtyard's chief position is much more difficult to achieve, but the extreme Dan courtyard's chief position shouldn't be that hard. Su Meiyao said with a light laugh. The extreme Dan courtyard was the organization responsible for dans here in the extreme martial sect. Although there was only one courtyard, it was however divided into 8 small courtyards where all alchemists dwelled. Only a second-level alchemist can enter the extreme Dan courtyard. Now I want to take a look how many levels. Chen Shang illuminated a list and saw that a first-level alchemist was required to be able to refine 3 different kinds of middle-grade mortal-level dans. A second-level alchemist was required to be able to refine 3 kinds of high-grade mortal-level dans and a low-grade spirit-level dan. The requirements to become a third-level alchemist were high, and one must actually be able to refine 3 kinds of middle-grade spirit-level dan. Currently, Chen Shang himself was only a second-level alchemist. 9th level was the highest rank of any alchemist. Above it was the Great Dan Master, Dan Ancestor, and then Dan King. Chen Shang remembered Su Meiyao saying that she was just a Dan Ancestor, and she was capable of refining heaven-level dans. At last Chen Shang once again looked at the next aspects of refining weapons. Refiners were rare in the extreme martial sect, and there were hardly any. While the Chenwu mainland's divine weapon Heavenly Empire was most developed in regards to refining weapons, the strongest in alchemy was Danxiang Taoyuan, and mainly the extreme martial sect's strength was powerful. That Leng Yulin went to Icewind Valley, which only cultivated in extreme yin and yang, and had the lowest amount of disciples. Nevertheless, their strength wasn't weak, as their true qi is very extreme, so their overall strength is strong. Although among the 8 major righteous sects, the extreme martial sect was recognized as the strongest, if the extreme martial sect and another sect fought, the extreme martial sect won't win the fight without paying a large price. Mei Yao sister, Yu sister, how about I find a way to make a Grand Master Alchemist here to refine a dan for you? That way you will soon be able to recover from your injuries. Chen Zhang's eyes lit up at the moment. Are they able to refine sacred level dan? Bai Yu asked. Sacred level dan. Chen Shang had not even heard of what they were speaking of, let alone seeing it. Is there no one here capable of refining it? Chen Shang asked. At least from what I have heard, they temporarily don't have anyone. Not to mention sacred level dan, those who can refine heaven level dan are rare. Su Meiyao said with a sigh, but you may just be able to as long as you cultivate and collect good herbs because you have the dragon saliva exercise. Chen Shang hadn't expected that he actually needed to refine a sacred level dan. How high of a level was this existence? First, enter the inner sect, then we will talk about it. Only after entering the inner sect, would I be able to learn a satisfying martial skill. Chen Shang said because outer sect disciples at best could only learn low-grade profound level martial skills while high-grade profound level and earth level martial skills needed the qualifications of an inner sect disciple to learn. At the 10th month of every year, it was the inner sect assessment, which was just around the corner, and Chen Shang hadn't expected that it would arrive in such a timely manner. Chen Shang climbed onto the roof, watching all the numerous buildings around him. In the innermost part of the deep region, strong people were gathered like clouds in the inner courtyard. The extreme martial sect's disciple enjoyed much of their freedom, and sect disciples were provided with a large number of martial skills. The extreme martial sect also had arranged some experienced old martial artists to teach the disciples, and there were also many types of equipment to aid in their training, as well as the martial stage for the disciples to fairly compare notes. Sometimes, the extreme martial sect arranged some missions for their sect disciple to complete, and these missions protected the extreme martial province from danger. Chen Shang put on the extreme martial sect's uniform, which was a gray leotard, made of a material which could even withstand ordinary flames. Ordinary swords also could not penetrate it, and it also fit tightly to the body, making people feel very comfortable. It also had a warm in winter and cool in summer effect. Chen Shang arrived in the middle of the martial courtyard, and in the middle there was one small square stage. All around the square stage there were some buildings, and inside these buildings was the equipment to help the disciples with their training. Newcomer, I heard you came from that secular world. It seems that you are very powerful, and was able to defeat that Fang Liang in a matter of seconds. One teenager came and said with a look of admiration. From those previous books, Chen Shang had learned Chenwu mainland was shaped like a triangle, and that the secular world was located in one of its corners. That corner was also across a large mountain range, isolated from the 8 major provinces, and had sparse spirit qi, which led to not many strong experts being there. Chen Shang slightly smiled, and said, that guy underestimated the enemy too much, that's why he lost miserably. Teenager laughed and said, that's true, since that guy Fang Liang had worshipped a teacher, he became arrogant. I wanted to teach him a lesson early on myself. This teenager's skin was dark, and he was shorter than Chen Shang by a head. Although he didn't look very strong, he gave off the impression that he was quick, capable and vigorous. His eyes glittered with sleekness, had an amiable smile, but there were a few scars on his face, giving off a sturdy feeling. Yun Xiaodao, are you thinking whether or not to bully the newcomer once again? From afar one middle-aged man said with a smile, Chen Shang, this shorty standing in front of you is this courtyard's strongest disciple, but he doesn't want to become the courtyard's chief and has not challenged the old man Zhang yet. Yun Xiaodao rubbed his nose, contemptuously side-glanced at that fellow, and said, I just wanted to compare notes with him. Martial artists originally often want to compare notes. In this square, there were many people, and they all had temperate and gentle smiles on their faces, making Chen Shang feel very harmonious in this martial courtyard. Moreover, he also learned from other people that they all thought that Fang Liang was very annoying. Chen Shang had just arrived, that's why people in this martial courtyard didn't start to cultivate, rather chatted with Chen Shang and informed him of some things. Chen Shang at this time just knew that Yun Xiaodao came here 3 years ago, and from the 3000th martial courtyard fought his way up from there. He was very strong, at the 10th level of the mortal martial realm, and he had a prominent origin. He was a member of one of the extreme martial province's 4 aristocratic families, the Yun family. At this moment, Yun Xiaodao, with an avid expression in his eyes, was watching Chen Shang, and spoke, Great brother Chen, except for the old man Zhang here, I've fought with everyone here. You also have to fight 1 round with me, and no matter if you win or lose, I'll give you 5 true Qi Dan, how does this sound? Old man Zhang was Zhangda, this martial courtyard's chief, but all martial artists in here called him in the same way. Chen Shang knew Yun Xiaodao was very bellicose. Moreover, he was this courtyard's strongest disciple, which meant that he was the strongest disciple in the outer sect. Xiaodao, you're in the 10th level of the mortal martial realm while I'm in the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, the difference is too big. Said Chen Shang while shaking his head and smiling, and to his surprise, this Yun Xiaodao was actually only 16 years old. Inside this Chenwu mainland's martial forest was where the talent really poured forth, and young and powerful martial artists could be found everywhere. But you're 1 year older than me, so you have the advantage. Rest assured, I'll be lenient, and whether you win or lose, I'll give you 5 true Qi Dan. Yun Xiaodao pestered, he was not planning to let Chen Shang go until he fought with him. Chapter 80, Outer Courtyard First Disciple. Chapter 80 Outer Courtyard First Disciple. In the eyes of other martial artists, 5 true Qi Dans might be very good, but give Chen Shang half of an hour and he could refine them out, and currently he did not want to get seriously injured, instead he wanted to prepare for the upcoming intersect assessment. Yun Xiaodao, this time with a sinister smile, said, Great brother Chen, I've several sisters, each one is very nice, so if you and I compare notes, I'll introduce them to you. Chen Shang could not help laughing, you brat, do not try fool me. You just said you'll introduce them to me, but later I won't be able to pursue them, right? Yun Xiaodao stuck out his tongue, why do you've so little confidence in yourself? I've heard you know alchemy. My sister's first preference of a man is an alchemist. Rarely has there been an alchemist like you who is young, smart and handsome. Fuck your mother's pussy, your this flattery is not bad. I'll reluctantly fight a round with you. Chen Shang said with a smile, but as for your sisters, leave it for others, I already have a fiancé. Seeing Chen Shang promise Yun Xiaodao, other martial artists also cheered up, because they also wanted to take a look at Chen Zhang's strength. By observing and emulating other battles could they themselves also learn some experiences. Yun Xiaodao was also delighted, like a child, he very readily took out 5 true Qi Dans and handed them to Chen Shang. He was a Yun family member, moreover, he was also talented, so in aspects of dance he was simply not lacking. Great brother Chen, to tell you the truth, even if I introduce my sisters to you, they will not fancy you. The standards of these women can be high. Yun Xiaodao took a side glance at those sitting disciple at the square edge, and these disciples revealed an angry expression, apparently they had been fooled by Yun Xiaodao. This time, Zhang De ran over hastily, and said with a smile, you and a newcomer are having a competition, how can it proceed without me? I'll preside over it, and at appointed time will immediately stop you, as I don't want anyone getting injured in a friendly competition. Chen Shang and Yun Xiaodao went to the middle of the square, and here the floor was paved using a kind of very sturdy bricks. They were very difficult to destroy, therefore one could fearlessly fight till the end. Xiaodao, are you going to participate in the intersect assessment? Chen Shang asked. I've participated 3 times, but each time in the second round I failed. I just entered the 10th level of the mortal martial realm this year, so this year I'll be able to enter the intersect. Chen Shang nodded his head, and his complexion turned serious because he felt a peculiar martial artist true chi from Yun Xiaodao. This type of true qi gave people a kind of feeling that was very terrifying. However, it was very docile inside Yuan Xiaodao's body. It should be fire and lightning true qi. He should have a mutated fire lightning vein, said Su Meiyao. Extreme martial sect, 3,000 martial courtyards, 100,000 disciples. People who could come must be someone with decent strength. After coming here, Chen Shang had met many young and strong martial artists, and in his front of him was a 16-year-old teenager in the 10th level of the mortal martial realm. This was the strongest person in the outer sect. Watch out, fire lightning chain. Yuan Xiaodao loudly shouted, and from his palm a fiery red-colored lightning suddenly spewed out, surging with fearsome hot qi, and hitting Chen Zhang's body. This fire lightning upon touching Chen Zhang's body, immediately tied down Chen Shang, like a very firm chain, making Chen Shang unable to move. Hey, great brother Chen, you lose, said Yuan Xiaodao while giggling, only to once again see both of his fists explode with that fearsome fire lightning qi aura. Although Chen Shang and Yuan Xiaodao were separated by 3 zhang, but Chen Shang could feel that strong qi aura, and even the ground was slightly trembling. In the 10th level of the mortal martial realm, true qi was compressed again. After this compression, it also elevated the quality of the true qi, doubling their true qi qualitatively and quantitatively when compared to the previous 9th level of the mortal martial realm. But Yuan Xiaodao didn't spend his true strength, otherwise it would be more frightening. At this moment, Chen Shang operated his true qi trying to get rid of the qi aura chain binding him. While the fire lightning chain was binding him up, it also continued to burst with lightning and scorching flames, which in turn entered into his body. If not for him using the Tai Chi divine exercise to continue to refine them, he would certainly be a little tormented. Yuan Xiaodao swooped over, both his fists shooting towards Chen Zhang's chest. When they were about to arrive, Chen Shang fiercely opened his mouth, and a dragon roar resounded. A large amount of azure qi aura was suddenly ejected from Chen Zhang's mouth, carrying terrifying lightning, and forming one huge momentum that flew towards Yuan Xiaodao and hitting him. The sudden attack made Yuan Xiaodao fly about 10 zhang. This confused Yuan Xiaodao and his hair was in a mess. Chen Shang lowered his head and shouted, only to see the fire lightning chain binding him suddenly burst open, forming a qi waves which blew in all directions. Great brother Chen, you are quite shady, and actually have these kind of tricks. Yuan Xiaodao had a look of displeasure. However, in his heart he was secretly thrilled, because Chen Shang had not been defeated all of a sudden. The people all around who watching were also secretly shocked. Chen Shang having this kind of martial skill also came as a surprise to them. True qi could be discharged from the mouth, it was indeed a kind of very shady martial skill. The quality of Chen Zhang's true qi was not worse than those at the 10th level of the mortal martial realm as a result of being compressed, because just a moment ago if Chen Shang had not fused the azure dragon and vermilion bird true qi, it was also very difficult for him to get rid of the fire lightning chain. Xiaodao, I'll attack you now. Chen Shang gripped both his fists, and azure dragon lightning true qi overflowed from his fists, and once again at the same time scorching vermilion bird red fire true qi emerged out. At this time Chen Shang had also used fire lightning true qi. This duel turned out to be a duel between fire lightning true qi and fire lightning true qi, and everyone standing was immediately excited because it was worth watching. They also found it a little unusual because they had learned Chen Shang had a fire spiritual vein, but he was still able to come up with lightning true qi. Chen Shang took one step and arrived in front of Yuan Xiaodao. Watch out, heavenly tiger storm killing fist. Finished speaking, numerous fists with tiger head after images burst out, surging out one after another with pressuring aura qi, pounding at a breakneck speed, cutting through the air, and shaking the floor. Similar to a bombardment of lightning it madly flew towards Yuan Xiaodao, each one in blink of an eye. Chen Shang punched out 100 times, and every fist was containing the strength which was capable of destroying a small mountain. Good fellas, this martial courtyard second rank is yours. Yuan Xiaodao clenching his teeth said. With a palm full of qi aura, constantly waving, he was actually able to keep up with the speed of Chen Zhang's fist. It looked as if he had countless palms whilst resisting the impact of Chen Zhang's fist that was like violent storm. I want first, Chen Shang said while laughing, and vainly shouted, White Tiger Divine Fist. Punching out one White Tiger Divine Fist suddenly a slaughter qi enveloped the center of this martial courtyard, and everyone could not help but have a shiver run down their spine, as they fell into a kind of inexplicable fear. Only to see both of Chen Zhang's fists suddenly transform into 2 tiger heads with soaring slaughter qi, and every time he blasted a fist, it was as if a ferocious monstrous white tiger with slaughter qi impacted, making people fall into fear. Cloud palm. Yuan Xiaodao complexion turned stiff, palms crossing each other, and a fire-lightning chi aura from both of his palms gushed out. It transformed into a pair of giant palms crossing each other, and were warding in front of Yun Xiaodao. Chen Zhang's white tiger divine fist struck that pair of giant crossed palms, and emitted, boom, sound one after another. The floor below also fiercely trembled, triggering storms one after another, blowing all around. At this time Chen Zhang's battle intent was rising, as he rarely met opponents with considerable strength. Rising high into the air with a leap, his palm swung downwards, and an explosive shout resounded. A huge fire palm suddenly appeared, about 20 zhong large, and fiercely pressing down. Editor's note: war intention changed to battle intent. We will change all future and past uses of war intentions with battle intent. This was Chen Zhang's killer move. It was to entirely release true chi of only one attribute, transforming it into chi aura which could cause heavy casualties, and its range was also very wide. Chapter 81. Equally matched.